language. Call this meeting to order for the February 18th Weston County Commissioners meeting. We'll start county business as soon as we get the invocation going here. Is there anybody in the audience that care to do an invocation? Anybody else care to do an invocation?
I would like to. Heavenly Father, we come before you as a Board of Commissioners asking for your guidance and direction, wisdom. We know that you have the ability to grant the most highest level of wisdom, and you have to an individual that has asked for it in the past. Please grant us a portion of that today as we consider our county business. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Mr. Stolken, would you lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is our mute mic on here?
Yeah. Yes.
All right. Additions, changes to the agenda. I'm going to move the 11:05 to the 10:50, and we'll leave the 10:50 open in the event that Michael feels we need it. I'm sure we'll have plenty of time there. Anybody got anything else you want to add, or?
Could we just do a clarification on the 1 o'clock executive session, please? We have to look that up.
Yeah. That is, it is over, sorry, give me a moment. No.
That is security?
Yes. The Sheriff's Department has asked for, do you know the exact terminology off the top of your head, Michael?
As far as the purpose?
Yeah.
To consider, discuss, and conduct safety and security planning that, if disclosed, would pose a threat to the safety of life or property.
Thank you.
Will there be action after that executive session?
Don't know. To be honest with you, I've never been involved with something like that, so. Any other changes or adjustments to the agenda? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion.
So moved as amended.
Second.
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay. No opposed. Let's see. 9:05 minutes. February 4th, 2025.
So I had a couple typos that have been corrected. Overman was misspelled, the and set. So just so you guys know, I did change those. Okay.
Entertain a motion to approve the minutes of February 4th, 2025.
Make a motion to approve the minutes of February 4th, 2025.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I would say, I think they're a pretty good set of minutes, Becky, reading through them.
Thanks.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So Ms. Kaiser has asked to be appointed to the Child Support Authority Board. I was on this years ago, and I don't think it's something that a lot of people have a real knack for, and I think it's been vacant for quite some time, hasn't it?
No.
Oh, it's Tina's spot that she's replacing, okay. Who's the other one is there still an opening for the other one?
I don't think so, I'd have to look.
Okay. Anyhow, it says, as clerk of district court, I would like to serve on the 6th Judicial Child Support Authority Board of Directors, along with members from Cook and Campbell counties. This would be a role that I would cover since Tina has left Weston County. I would like to be part of the board representing Weston County. Thank you for your consideration. Sincerely, Ricky Kaiser. Is Tom Bruce still on? He's been off forever.
I believe Crook County, we're in it together with Crook County, correct?
And Campbell?
Yep.
And Campbell.
There's 3 counties.
There was 3 of us when I was on. It was Tom, Tina, and I. And Tom was on it since he was a commissioner, eons ago.
You know, I think where she's in district court, I think it'd be she'd have first-hand knowledge of what's going on with that board, so it'd be a very good appointment.
I'll make a motion to approve her letter to become a board member for the Child Support Authority.
Second.
Properly moved and seconded to place Ms. Kaiser on the Child Support Authority Board. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Ms. Kaiser, if you're on here, if she is. Okay, next up, we're clicking right along here. We have a resolution 2025-3. This is moving $5,000 from the county fuel reserve account and adding it to road and bridge fuel tank maintenance per Jim's request at the last meeting, and the expenditure amount of $5,000. I assume everybody probably saw it.
I mean, just for the record, that we set that money aside to maintain the fuel tanks out there, and they had to do some repairs on the fuel tanks. In years past, we didn't have that fund, and we got bit pretty hard when we had to replace the fuel tanks. So that fund is looking ahead and setting money aside for any replacements, so. And that. I'd make a motion to approve resolution 2025-3 in the amount of $5,000 for the fuel tank maintenance.
Second.
Got a proper first and second on the resolution 2025-3. Is there any discussion further?
No, it was on the maintenance side of it. Was there anything, what specifically was he?
I can't remember what he said, but there was some, they had to do some work on them.
It was on the tank itself or the pumping unit or?
I think probably more or less on the pumps or something.
Any other discussion? Those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll take a few minute break until 9:15 in case somebody from the public wants to show up and comment.
I like that coffee cup. That's cool.
Handmade.
It's cute.
It didn't take her very long to do either.
It's not a problem.
Birthday.
So just this increase would increase it to 62,000.
Carla.
Really?
Yeah.
For the 4 employees.
You know how I like ink art,
Yeah.
so black and white.
So
Without Jason.
And it's big.
that's not including Jason.
Jason's was on the front.
You walk here.
So his would increase another 8. Yeah, that's Jason.
I'm glad I only do it 2 blocks.
So did anybody figure out how much we're paying him in overtime?
I was cold by the time I got to the office.
It's in the letter, I think. I think it is. I saw it somewhere.
Coming across the road, the courthouse, and it says this car in the middle of the road. I just had to step on
At
it.
the bottom of the first page of their letter.
Jump over.
Gotcha.
Glad I didn't wear my normal shoes. Yeah, there's no way I was jumping over it. I could get a slick spot now.
But this is different. These are the W's. The other one is detention. Detention is paid overtime. They don't get comp time.
Now we're gonna have that again.
This is 2 different things.
You sure it said detention officer?
I'm getting a digital recorder, so I
They're
have
paid for
sound,
theirs.
even if the picture.
Yeah, I know, and that's what he's saying, that that's 78 hours of overtime, which equated to that 26.94 or 95.
So we're getting,
That's why that even could be made copies.
yeah, well, that's always better than the other way, so.
Well, what they're
We're
getting
gonna
is
go ahead and get like 3 digital recorders.
about half,
Put them as a plus and
incurring about half.
Soft
And, but is that just
Especially
figuring
Jim.
wages
here.
only,
Jim is probably the worst.
or is that figuring?
We don't have
Morning.
to stop. Good morning.
How's it going?
I don't know if it's because of servers or not caused over there, if it's like fire remote or.
Gotta get outside 5G great. Here, not so great.
Stone building.
Sometimes it disconnects and has to reconnect.
That's why I came early, so I could hopefully get a seat.
Trish?
Yeah.
How are you?
How are you, Walter?
All right, public comment. Is there any public comment? Any public comment? Hearing none. We're gonna wait for Mr. Kirsch for the MS taxing district.
That's a normal day up there. Just I'm getting a little old.
I was too old for snow sports.
You didn't give you any handout, did you?
I never was in, I was to be in Newcastle.
Really, I used to ski every week.
I actually was quite good by myself. I was looking going airborne and over.
Some jumps. Little mountains.
Yeah.
Yeah, I skied all up and down, stuff like that. Snowbird and all that, so okay.
What was your take, Nick, on the rest of that meeting?
I didn't. I never got into snow sports.
They changed any minds.
Yeah,
He was getting some good
We didn't have snow.
feedback, yeah,
with skiing.
yeah.
Wish more of the teachers to the state.
Yeah.
But Clark and Justin Mills weren't making it easy.
Yeah.
Well, then he was talking about, you know, per student, how it's paid.
Yeah.
And I really didn't feel like they wanted to accept any of that. And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
But it was like they were fighting back on that.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
And there's nothing you can do about that.
Yeah.
But it was like they were fighting back on that. And I don't know. I didn't see if there was any resolution to any of their issues
No.
at all. But I left the court was completely over anyway because this thing was going dead and it got warm and
It ended up going in for one.
the one.
Yeah. 2 hours over.
Good night. So that discussion was longer than the tax deduction.
Yeah, but then it ended up circling back
It
to
circled
tax too,
back.
yeah.
Did any of the public make any comments, recommendations as far as what he was?
No, he didn't
requesting?
ask for a count like he did in, Sundays.
We'd have to put it on the ballot, wouldn't we, for,
Oh, yeah.
I wonder if that's what he's here for.
First year, every,
I thought where it's at.
I'm not sure I could handle myself. so I need to-
I'm never sure I can.
In Michael's hands.
And
Yeah, and that's what I
just that
There was anything
that
there.
we
in
have,
the county attorney was related.
and it was real good.
So he said that he wanted to come to me.
I used to get a good shots.
Michael, which title is it to form a district? Do you know? EMS district?
He's not here yet.
See, I had that with me. That bill.
Well, he's just wanting to see where we're at.
And how much snow they got up there in Hewlett.
And then tax your distance.
It's Title 18, Article 12, Section 12.
You're up.
Oh, I'm up, sorry.
Morning.
I apologize, I thought I was on time, so.
Oh, you're
You're for too long.
We're ahead.
Oh, good.
You're up at 9:20 and it's 9:20.
Just give me a moment or two here. I remember reading it before.
He probably has that.
Senior citizen. Do you remember
What's that?
What?
what section of what statute that falls under for districts formation?
I don't recall the
1812.
minutes, yeah, I'm sorry.
Mr. Lacy.
1812,
Then 23 Senate file. 043.
one short.
Okay, yeah. 112,
There's a section there.
right here. For the Board of County Commissioners may.
Yeah, it is 1.5, yeah.
18.3-3.
All right, Mr. Kirsch, if you state your name so that everybody on the,
Okay. Shane Kirsch, EMS Manager for Campbell County Health.
thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you guys for getting me on the schedule today. I apologize, this has been a little while in the making. I know there's been quite a few things going on in Weston County, so appreciate you guys allowing me the chance for some follow-up on that. I know, 6-8 months ago, we had a motion passed through the commissioners to form an EMS taxing district. And then Jen Davis, the Senior Policy Advisor for Government Accordance Office, has offered to extend her team's help in getting that district in place. Just trying to do some follow-up with you guys on that to see where we're at with the project. I know that we've reached out. I thought the next step was to have Mr. Sulkin and the County Assessor's Office define the border for where the taxing district would be for an EMS taxing district. Not sure if that has been completed yet or not.
I don't believe so. Did we actually make a motion to form it, or did we just discuss the
Yeah, there was a motion made to form an EMS district, and we referred to County Attorney Stulkin on getting forward with that, because what would have to happen is this board would have to set up appoint a board to start with.
Right.
And we left it in Michael's hands. He hasn't got back with us on where we're at.
Okay.
Because that's,
I thought we were gonna collaborate, or try to collaborate with the city or something, if I'm not mistaken. Am I thinking of the right
well,
project?
the city wouldn't be involved, because this is be a countywide district. Once the district is formed, then that board of that district moves forward with getting the boundaries defined from and then we have to go to the voters to get it put on the mill levy.
Right, it's got to be open for 30 days for public comment.
Yeah.
All the things, right? This is a multi-year project.
Yeah, it's not an overnight project.
Right, absolutely.
So, I mean, if Michael, you finish looking into that, it's like what we have to do as a county board here to get that district formed.
Yeah, and I can make sure I talk to Kara before the next meeting. Have an update. That works.
Yeah, the boundaries would be easy, it'd just be the county boundaries.
Okay.
That part would be pretty easy, but it's actually what we have to do here as a board to get this board to appoint another board. Get on for that district. We have to form the district and then appoint a board.
Okay.
Have to advertise for board members and move forward that way.
Sounds good.
So, anybody else got something? In reading this, after July 1st of 2023, they did give us the opportunity to establish it by resolution with the Board of County Commissioners and define those lines, and then in not less than 60 days have that resolution pursuant to the subsection signed and hold a public hearing. So there may be another way without having to do the board first, but it might be wise to start advertising for that.
Doesn't that form the board? Form the district?
I think it does form the district, but it says nothing about a board right away in that. I mean, I know you have to. It's probably under the powers of the district or the district board of directors requirements. So what do we need to do? If we adopted by motion to form that district, do we need to do that by resolution?
Yeah, it can be done by resolution. That part of it is easy because it's done by resolution. And that's when the work really starts, is after the resolution's done and approved. That's when the work starts of getting your board members in place.
Maybe that's a step we need to get Michael to, if we can, get a resolution created to form that district after you get with Kara to get the ball rolling, and then Clerk Hadlock could advertise for board members.
Well, we have to do the resolution, form the district,
60-day.
and then we have the time then we have the public comment period.
Yeah.
Then you have the hearing.
Yeah.
Public hearing, and then if it's established, looks like 1812-113, he talks about appointment of board members.
Okay.
Yeah, 'cause 'Cause I know that statute there, it's, you have either 3 or 5 board members.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, well, I apologize, the resolution hasn't been done to this point.
It's okay.
Maybe we can move forward. I'm glad you came.
Yeah, so appreciate the time. You know, it's tough. With the legislature that's moving through the Senate right now, and you know, property taxes being kind of up in the air. You know, it would be nice to have the EMS taxing district in place again to kind of take some of the burden off of general appropriation funds for both the city and the county. So I appreciate your willingness to kind of work through this with us. And I think to Mr. Stolken's point of the joint venture, and I think former Mayor Gualtieri's concern with that is the pretty significant disparity between what the city pays for coverage versus what the county pays. So I think that's why she was in support of it as well. So
Have you visited with the current?
I have not.
Yeah. Financially, I mean, are things going okay for you? I mean,
I can assure you, most assuredly, that we are not making millions of dollars in Weston County line services. So, but we are making it work. I've met with Kathy Harshberger, the new CEO of Weston County Health Services, continue to work with her team to find some new and unique ways to make sure that their needs are met as well as our contract with the city and the county. So we hopefully will come to some sort of better way to do this.
Do you have one full-time staffed ambulance at all times right
now? So our coverage model for Weston County is one 24-hour, 365-day crew here in Newcastle, and then we backfill it from either a truck out of Wright or from Gillette based on where things are at that time.
It's a lot of square miles if you're having an emergency.
Yep. Yeah, our total coverage area right now is 9,700 square miles. So it's the distance that gets us. It's just, and the volume does not support additional trucks to be here full time, and we've been unsuccessful in recruiting PRN staff out of the Newcastle area. So we are trying again, more EMS classes, more EMT classes all the time. We've got one running right now. So, and then our EMS University education seminar is coming up in May. So hopefully we can encourage some folks to attend that as well.
Yeah, that'd be good. It's certainly a concern of mine, knowing that it could be an hour before somebody might show up.
Yeah, that's if the roads are good.
Yeah, right.
I have a question for you, Shane. I know that you've had trouble getting people interested in getting involved. Do you feel like just no interest, or is there an expense to take the class that stops some people, do you think, or?
So there has been some concerns about expense, and so we were awarded the rural EMS SAMHSA grant last September is when that took place, and in that we had put into the grant that we wanted 20 scholarships for EMT classes for initial EMS education. And we were able to fill this entire EMT class that we started in January with all those scholarships again, but we did not have very much interest or any interest from anybody in Newcastle. And it is kind of difficult to find a lot of interest from this area. We did lose a staff recruiter position with the organization there for a while, and I think that kind of limited some things that we were trying to do over here, but now we have refilled that position and we have a staff recruiter, so hopefully I can again get her to start doing some more job fairs over here, attend some of these local area organization stuff. I know she's participated in the past with some of the stuff out of the high school. And then Lisa Jackson, our business development coordinator, she's been over here working with the Chamber of Commerce. So we have been trying a couple of different things, and then some of the work we're doing with Weston County Health Services is how do we share staff? If they need to push out, an emergent transfer in the middle of the night, we don't have coverage due to other transfers out in the system, can we put one of their nurses in the back of one of our trucks? And then it becomes a matter of insurance liability risk, who is ultimately responsible for the patient, where those orders come from. So some things that we're working on. So
I was curious, I know Upton's been pretty, they've been working with individuals there in Upton on the little Upton ambulance deal, and this district, is there a way to help that ambulance within the community of Upton work with you folks somehow, so that, I mean, if there's interest in Upton, then there's a perfectly good ambulance sitting down there. I mean, I don't want to tax the people on one side of the county, and we got a perfectly good ambulance sitting there, and nobody, I don't know, is there ways to try to?
I think that would be a good question for whatever board is formed with the EMS taxing district. Currently, the Upton VFD sponsors and pays for all of the work that the Upton Ambulance Services does. Currently, the Upton VFD sponsors and pays for all of the work that the Upton Ambulance Services does. So I'm not really sure whether or not there would have to be some way to like move the funds across or have some sort of split, and I would assume the EMS taxing board would have to define that.
I think that would be up to the board that's in place of that district to where the funds get
Yeah,
spent to.
absolutely. Sorry, thank you.
Yeah, that's
exactly what I was
where it'd be up to that board. Could it be just kind of like our solid waste district, money has to go here and there, but it's up to that board to make sure that it's all balanced out.
Right. And currently, Upton Ambulance Service doesn't charge for any of their services because it's a volunteer service sponsored through the fire department. So there is that as well.
Yeah.
Like if they were to start charging for services, there's a potential there for them to kind of offset some of their funding needs as well. But
Yeah. Yes, sir.
We were able to really bolster volunteers too by the city paying upfront cost for EMT classes. Towards the end of 2023, beginning of 2024, we were down to one EMT that was about to also retire. So by the town offering to pay those classes up front, people came out of the woodwork, and we're at 5, and our 6 is about to pass the final certification. So that by offering to pay that expense instead of after the fact, helping them pay it up front, and we offer the class in Upton now too, which helps out too with travel and everything like that. So that really bolstered. We rarely have any assistance from Newcastle at this point because we have enough EMTs to run the show over in Upton. So
That's pretty cool. I knew that there'd been a regained focus in Upton there, and I've actually seen it amongst some of the community members wearing EMS coats around and stuff, and I thought that was pretty cool. Something must have been working.
yeah, it was just seemed to be the expense. Was just paying that up front help people be willing to take a shot at it.
Nice, good job.
And I would be more than willing to host an EMT class in Newcastle City if I could get enough, sign-ups for it. It's really hard to justify sending an instructor over from Gillette to host an EMT class for 1 or 2 students when in Gillette I'll have 18 or 19 people, so the time is better spent. I know there are a couple of different hybrid education models as well. Care EMS is one that's offered, and they do statewide EMT courses. They do a hybrid online model, and then generally those students are allowed to perform some of their clinical skills and do their ambulance ride-along times at their local agencies. So it's another opportunity to get more interest into the programs.
Anybody have anything further?
I would assume that Gillette does have the volume, and it probably would be better spent as far as the initial interest. I like the idea of the job fairs and being involved with that. Sometimes if the interest isn't there, you gotta plant that seed, because we do have families here in Weston County that are affiliated with the medical services provided, and so naturally you've got kids that understand the lingo and admire their parents' careers and things like that. So those career days and job fairs and things like that, opening that doorway a little bit of already, kids that are growing up in that family. The interest might not be there if you just say, we're going to do an EMS class next Thursday, but by planting that seed, kind of like the taxing district, we agree that it's going to be a couple years in the making just as the process goes. The same way with the planting the seed of where you're at distance-wise. You guys are covering 9,700 square miles, and so the interest is going to be in your populated areas like Gillette, but you probably don't need as much in the Gillette area as you probably do in Newcastle with the distance added to this corner of it. So planting those seeds in the job fair and career days or whatever, I think that would be very helpful.
Okay. Yeah, I'll work with our staff recruiter to make sure that she's in attendance at all these. And our business development coordinator, Lisa, I would imagine those job fairs are generally advertised at Chamber of Commerce meetings and stuff. Now that they've got an executive director back in that position, hopefully they can be a little bit more active.
And also with the school systems.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's one coming up, or I think it's in early March.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Mr. Kirsch.
Thank you. I do have a signed copy of the provider services agreement.
In my office.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
How many would you need to serve have a class here?
If I could get 6 students, I think I could probably justify hosting a class here.
Okay. Is there an age limit on it?
No, the state of Wyoming does not hold an age limit on being an EMT. To be an employee of Campbell County Health, though, you do have to pass a functional job screen. So there are some physical limitations to it.
Okay. Well, I belong to some different groups, and I can throw it out and see if anyone would be interested.
I would really appreciate it.
And that way, if we could get 6 or 8, then it would be worth having.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, well, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I think so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll get that on our end.
Okay, sounds
Help
good.
them get 4 vouchers.
I've got the vouchers here, so I'll get those filled out and hand them in.
All right, thank you.
Should we make a motion to go ahead and have Michael,
That's already been
we
done.
already approved it,
6
so,
months ago.
okay.
That was just get a resolution prepared and get it passed. and
Could
move
we
forward.
put a time on that, like at our next meeting, or?
Think you can do that by the next meeting, Michael? Give it a care. Yeah, give it a care and get a resolution.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay.
Mr. Lacy, you're on the floor.
Morning,
Morning.
Chairman and Commissioners. I thought I'd give you an update on our adventure down in Cheyenne with our proposed bills. And we went down Sunday night on the 27th, I think it was, because the committees started at 7:30 in the morning. We were on for 7. Third one on, I should say. There was two ahead of us, 2 bills ahead of us, and then the third one. So we went down there on the 27th, went to the committee meeting, sat through the first one, started into the second one, and the chairman let us know that they weren't going to be done that day. So if we wanted to get back on, we'd have to come back on Wednesday. So we went home,
came back on Tuesday night. We were first on the agenda on Wednesday morning. Ogden was a sponsor in the bill, that was the Senate side. Ogden was a sponsor. And I give him credit, and I think everybody owes him a lot because of the job he did pushing that bill through. He answered a lot of questions, did a lot of talking and explaining to those senators why we needed to do this. Then we had Trish and Sue and Danny Bell testify. And I sat in the back and I could see at the beginning they were kind of cool, but as the questions were answered and Ogden talked, they started to warm up to it. And in the end, when the vote came through, it was unanimous. They voted to send it to the floor. So that was a good deal. And then we had a little visit with Chuck Gray, and Speaker Nyman invited us to view the proceedings in the House. So we went to the gallery, and while we were there, he introduced us all by name. And we got a standing ovation from the members of the House. That afternoon, I guess it was that afternoon. Yeah, early afternoon we were on at the House. So Chip was a sponsor and JD co-sponsored the bill. And went and explained it, talked it through. I don't think he had any questions, or they didn't ask him any questions, did they? No. Not like they did Ogden. But anyway, then Trish, I, Danny, and Sue testified, gave them our thoughts and opinions. They voted. It was unanimous again. There was 9 members on that committee, 5 members on the other committee. Chip did a really good job. He's kind of a orator, as you probably know. Made his points, we made our points, and they unanimously passed it. And so, I probably am forgetting a lot of things that went on, but that's the gist of it. But I'd like to, we had several people go down with us, and I wanted to recognize those people, so I'm going to read their names here. Danny Bow, Dan Fouch, Trish Bowman, Tom Rigg, Wing, Nick Bone, Rex Smithgall, Daryl Schlup, Dale Lacey, Stanley Drzinski, and Sue Slavin Morales, and myself. So we had about 11 people down there supporting it. And if you got, like to...
Yeah, I wanted to add too that Secretary of State Chuck Gray weighed in on both the Senate committee and the House committee. He's in support of this bill that we've got going forth. Also, then the Senate File 174, which is the bill that we put forward, went and it passed the committee of the whole that following Monday, and it was it passed. And they had some discussion on it, and then the following 2 days it did the second reading and the third reading. It was just on a consent list, so they didn't have any discussion. So it is up to go over to the House at this point and go through. We had a mere bill in the House, but the last day, the Senate file that we put through was on the last day, and they had 24 bills, and they just barely got to ours. On the House side, they had 64 bills that they were trying to put through that day, and ours didn't make it just because of time and the volume. So anyway, so that's where our bill is, and I don't know if you've got a chance to read it, but it basically says that they're gonna form a committee during the interim and and discuss and come to a resolution or a solution where we can be following both the state constitution as well as the federal constitution. So that's where we're at with that, and I really appreciate you guys' help and not withdrawing your support.
I'd say Mr. Driscoll deserves a world of support. I think he solely convinced the chair of that committee that needed to happen. I appreciate you acknowledging his effort.
Yeah, he was a big help.
And thanks from the board.
They're just, thank you guys for working through this in this procedure like that. That's how we get stuff done is. They're just, thank you guys for working through this in this procedure like that. That's how we get stuff done is,
I want to say something. Why JD didn't get to say much because Driscoll stole the thunder in the Senate and Chip stole the thunder in the House. But he was very good. He kept in contact with me. He wanted me. He's the one that asked me to come testify, and he called me on weekends and kept me up to date of when the meetings were going on. And I don't remember if it was the House. It was the House, I think. He supported the bill. The thing is, everybody on the east side of the state, all the representatives, senators and representatives, our previous one, Alan, supported it. Sherry supported it. But the biggest surprise was Driscoll. I've rubbed on him terribly hard over the years, and that man came through like a shining star. But in JD's deal, he did come up with one deal that impressed I think it was the House board. He said, well, it's never happened. He said, but let's just say it does happen. He said, and there's a bill that comes up on the floor, and I vote against it, and Chip votes for it. He said, now where's Weston County's representation there? And that struck a nerve with him. And when I was speaking, I brought up the deal. I put in I didn't go down there as a constitutional deal. I went down to represent it as a voting bill. Because I told the Senate to start with, I said, there's some misinformation here. I said, you guys heard about an election that was Weston County's election. I said, that's not true. That was Crook County's election, Weston County election, and Niobrara's. And had we had a senator running, it would have been 4 counties involved. And I expressed the concerns of how messed up it is. And then I brought up the deal about when it's hard enough for the county clerks to get together and do this. She's got to count on their clerk to get their people up here. She's got to get Crook, and it's all the same thing. They got to count on Becky to get there. Right. So then I brought up the election they may not have heard of was the fiasco we had when our representative resigned and we had to go down there. And most of them did not realize that 4 out of 5 people we sent did not live in that district. And when we met with Chuck Gray, he goes, man, am I glad you brought that up. He said, that is a perfect reason why what we're doing cannot and should not work. And I'll tell you, we were scared of the Senate because of what Chip has said. It's a hard committee, that appropriation committee and corporations. And when we walked in there, there was definitely ice in the room. And the chairman Case, I got to give him credit. As Trish was speaking and stuff, he come around the guy that he even formulated one in his head that could work. And when they took the roll call vote, the loudest one, he was the last one, and he made sure he was the loudest. So we got real good support there. And we got real good support in the House. And we got 3 horses in the race right now. We got Senate file, we got the House bill. And if those 2 don't get through right now, the chairman of the House committee, Mr. Knapp, has already said it will get introduced again at the midterm, and they're sure it's going to come out. I just talked to Chip about it yesterday briefly, and he said as far as he can see, there's no getting away from it. Something we do need to do, and I did recognize Chip and the speaker, or the secretary especially, and I've been hard on LSO from what senators and representatives have told me in the past, but I gave thank to them because they got our bill, and usually it's a little hassle to get it out. They didn't understand it, and they called Trish, and she explained to them what we wanted to do, and they said we could fix that. They sent it up here, we changed one word in their change, and it was done deal, and it went through. And so we've got just the worst problem we've had is right here in Wyoming County to get support. Everybody else, nobody said no, you can't do this. Nobody said, what are you thinking? Other counties caught us out in the hall and said, hey, we support you, it's a good deal. The one's chairman, I don't remember if it was Case or Knapp, addressed Sue. He goes, well, I guess I should have to address you as constitutional senator. He said, I won't call you senator, but I'll call you constitutional senator. So everybody's in agreement, and I do think, you know, when we started this, somebody in the county said, well, maybe we should wait for 10 years. And I think the big deal that got it through, I really do, is when Driscoll and some of them talked about it. They know how it's a knockdown, drag out at the last minute. And they like the idea of having time to sit down as human beings and talk. And if we don't get it today, that's a big deal. We'll come back tomorrow and we'll discuss it again. But I think we're in really good shape. And but this is just the start. Once it clears the House, then we got to convince a lot of the other senators that weren't on the committee, and we got to get the one man, one senator, one representative for each county. And I think everybody's on board with that. The only discrepancy I've seen down there from discussions is how we're going to do that. And we didn't want to bring that up right now because we got to get this committee first, because I don't have all the answers. Nobody in this room has all the answers. But like I told them in the deal, we had 2 state deals that unanimously voted, every county voted to do this. Article 3, Section 3. So I said, now it's quite apparent that we, the people of the state of Wyoming, not just Weston County, want it. And we, the people, deserve it better. And we, the people, can do better. And nobody argued with that point. And I think we can. It's a mess, you know, but Chuck Gray is doing us a great job, and he needs some help in talking about our issue and stuff. Something that I'm not aware of yet is you guys signed the letter in stating these guys, and our understanding was that once it left here, it went to the president of the Republican Party, Ethorn, and then Chuck Gray. And we heard nothing. So I went and asked Chuck if we could meet with him, and my question to him was, what happened to that letter? Because we've got people wanting to know. And he goes, I never got no letter. So I don't know whether...
Update on that. So after we found out that Chuck Gray hadn't had it, I found the copies of it, and William Curley sent it down to Chuck Gray.
Right.
So he's got it in his office.
He's got it in his office, but that's just a copy off of what we did here off his computer. Chuck's got it. But that piece of paper is floating somewhere, and we need to find out what crack it fell through. I'm not blaming anybody, but I'm saying there's a crack that needs to be filled wherever it went. And I don't know if the Republican Party can do that, or if you guys can check on it, because it's a document that this county produced. It's a legal document. We need to find out what happened. If it's the Republican Party, they need to get a kick in the pants and get going and get it found and get it to where it belongs. But other than that, like I say, everybody has been just super nice and super. They were a little cool at first, but the house, when we walked in there was a whole different atmosphere. I mean, it was just like, oh, well, it's like here, walking in here, you know, you're going to talk to friends, and it's going to be that way. It wasn't, and JD warned us about that. He said the Senate is a little stuffier than the House, and it was. That's a good term, stuffy. Yeah. But anyway, we're going forward.
To your point, it's a whole different animal than it was 2 years ago, too, or a year ago. So I think that's why there's a lot cooler feelings about it. So, Tricia?
Danny pointed out that in the Senate committee, the loudest aye was the chairman Case. And I just wanted to point out in the House committee, the loudest aye was the one Democrat sitting on the committee. So I went up and thanked him for making it a bipartisan bill.
Thank you. Anybody else? We're kind of running a little short on time. Go ahead.
Dan, you heard about LSO. They're the unsung heroes down there in Cheyenne. That LSO group, behind the scenes, busts their tails for everybody, so.
Well, there's been over the years, you know, I've had dealing with them 2 times. The first time I was kind of by myself when they did the driver's license. And I just told them what I needed done and they had to split the bill. But several times people would go, well, that came out LSO and it wasn't the bill what I wanted. Well, now that I've dealt with them 2 different times, I'm calling that a question because LSO did what we wanted to the best of our ability and we okayed it. Now, if it ain't what we wanted, we could have hesitated. We said one word and it's perfect. So I complain, but I give credit where credit's due too.
Okay, let's keep it real short because we got a call coming in at 10
I just want to
o'clock.
thank you for all the work you've done. This isn't something that happened overnight with your group. You've been working on it for years and years and years. But to me, it just shows that the people can make a difference if you keep on it and you really believe in what you're doing. And I just really appreciate what you've done.
Just to clarify, this is pertaining to Senate File 174 and House Bill 296, correct? With the least amount of amendments, hats off to William and Trish for the wording of that. That was amazing. All the groundwork that has come from Weston County. Super thankful. And Ogden Driscoll, for his support. I'd like to give him a hand.
Thank you. All right, we gotta move on, I'm sorry.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Carl.
Thanks, Becky.
You're welcome, see you later.
You going into executive session now?
Yeah. I'll text Drew that we may be a few minutes late. So, Becky, to shut it off, I just leave, click leave. I don't think anybody can hear us anyway, so I got a text message. But
How's it going?
Good. How's it going?
It's pretty outside.
Yeah, it is.
Pretty wild.
Okay, it's on, okay.
I'll have to wait, so I'll have to switch them out once we go in.
I could make a motion.
Yeah, somebody like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we move into executive session under 16-4-405 AII.
Second.
Moving and seconded, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. Sorry guys, we're kind of crunched here.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Try to. So, Drew's sitting at a Zoom meeting.
On ours.
For a name at that.
How do I, what's the fastest way? Oh my gosh.
We either get logged on or make a real quick phone call.
Okay. Drew, I'm gonna have to get logged back in here. Can you give me a few minutes? Let's see if I can figure out. Sometimes it took 30 minutes this morning. So.
To get logged in?
Yep. So I'm wondering if there's a way we might be able to just get you and Jeannie on speakerphone. It might be faster.
That's fine. You've got several people on the line though, just so you know.
Okay. Let me see what I can do here.
Okay.
It might be fast. I hope it's faster than it was this morning.
That's fine, and I will just take up about 5 minutes of your time and let you get back on schedule.
Okay.
So let me know if you want to do phone or if you want to do.
Oh, no, he's good.
Oh, I think we might be okay.
Okay.
Now we need to see if you can hear us. Apparently they're having trouble hearing us earlier.
I cannot hear you on my computer.
Just a sec, we're about to join
There
in
you
here.
are.
And
I
then
see you
undo
just
your
popped
mic.
up.
You got your mic
There.
on.
Oh, yeah.
It's on.
Can you hear us
Hit
now?
that because you got the mic.
I hit it twice. It's not coming in.
I can only hear you on the phone. I can't hear you.
Okay, I got a mic muted here. I'm trying to.
There you
Okay.
go.
Can you hear us? We good there?
Can you hear us now?
Can you hear us on the
Just on the phone.
computer?
I can only hear you on the phone.
No, I can't hear you on the computer.
Well, just go through the phone.
Do you want to grab the phone and have? Is there a way Jeannie and her both can join?
No, we can use two phones.
Yeah, we could.
Can anyone else hear us on the Zoom?
Let's do this. Let's try this one.
I don't think so.
Now, can you hear us?
Yeah.
Still can't.
How about now?
That was Jeannie, I think.
Can you hear us, Jeannie? Drew's got hers muted.
I do have mine muted, but I
Oh.
can't hear you on the computer.
Okay.
Can you hear us on the computer?
No.
No,
Oh, no.
Okay.
just the phone.
Try this other
Makes it
microphone.
tough because
We
the
swapped
rest
them
of it
last
wouldn't
time.
go over there.
All of a sudden, magically started working. Anything?
Oh, yeah.
You can?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Say something again.
Something.
Something.
I can hear you. I'm going to hang up.
Okay. Thanks. Bye. You can hear us? Now we can't hear you.
Check the speaker at the bottom.
Yeah,
I've messed with that before.
let's try
Just
that.
Yeah, that doesn't work. That's just showing.
Did 100%. Oh gosh. Okay.
You can hear us though, Drew? You can, okay. Maybe just call her back and.
I'm gonna call you back,
Yeah,
and
we'll just do it on
then
the phone.
everybody can hear you via my phone
There we go.
through our microphone. I'm hoping.
Wow.
Gotta do what you gotta do.
Okay, Commissioners.
That should work.
Hi, Drew.
Okay, you want me to go ahead?
Yeah, hopefully you don't get a bunch of weird feedback from whatever we're doing here, but
Okay. I might just. I'm getting feedback, so I'm going to log off. Okay, I'm just going to do you by phone.
okay.
Okay, hello Commissioners. I'm going to make this really quick for you so you can get back on schedule. So we did get our comments submitted to the Newcastle BLM. I apologize on the lateness of getting those to you. It took me longer than I anticipated. But I do think that our comments were thorough. We got them in by the deadline, and then BLM extended the comment period until March 17th. So if there's anything that you want to supplement between now and March 17th, we can certainly consider that. I do not have any recommendations for supplementing at this point in time, but it is open and we can do that if you think that it is necessary. I do think your comments were thorough. We touched a lot of things, and I think also because I haven't talked to you for a little while, we went back and took probably a harder stand on some issues because of the Trump administration coming in versus kind of where we were before the end of the year. So we did take a harder stand on some of those things. We'll work with the BLM. I believe the BLM extended the comment period because of all of the executive orders that have come out and the secretarial order from Secretary Burgum, number 3418, Unleashing American Energy. They've now pulled back all records of decision, rules, regulations, anything that's been posted. They've now withdrawn it, rescinded it, or put it on hold until the secretary and his staff can get through all of those actions and make them consistent with the president's priorities. So I believe, if I had to guess, BLM went ahead and gave us 30 extra days because we're sitting in that pause period of time, and it impacts the Newcastle BLM EIS. So that's probably why you got the extra time. Are there any questions regarding Newcastle BLM EIS?
I don't hear any.
Okay. Jeannie, did you have anything, if you can hear? I don't know if she can hear, but if she has anything to add, I thought I'd pause for her. She might not be able to. Okay. So moving on to the Black Hills. Nothing, we did have a meeting last week. We will have a meeting next month, and that meeting will be with the Forest Service. So Commissioner Todd, you are the point of contact for that project. The second Wednesday of March, we will be holding that meeting virtually, and the Forest Service will be attending. I suspect that they're going to give us an update on the notice of intent and when we can anticipate that project starting, and maybe some other items. They're going to be wanting to schedule some other individual meetings with us regarding recreation or wild and scenic rivers, wilderness. So we're anticipating some of these meetings happening between March and when they start the notice of intent to begin the NEPA process. So not a whole lot more on that right now. Any questions regarding Black Hills?
Did you say the 12th, Drew?
Yeah, is that the second Wednesday?
I think so. I'm trying to see a long ways to a calendar, but. Yeah,
I think it is. Okay, yes. Regarding sage grouse, that is one of those documents that got caught in the crossover. We're pushing hard to do a supplemental EIS to resolve some of the issues in that document. There have not been any decisions yet made by the administration on how we're going to handle that, but I've reported in the past. We work very closely with the state, and we think we're 85% there on the existing NEPA, but there's 15% that we could not agree to with the previous administration. So the general line of thinking is if we can do a supplemental EIS and resolve those issues that we couldn't come to terms with the Biden administration, that can take care of that last percentage. Also, CIGIT is in the process of meeting and updating. They're probably going to take up 3 different things to update the governor's executive order. One is going to be adaptive management. That was one of the issues we could not resolve with the administration. The second is we want to eliminate the PHMA Plus creation for the quote-unquote Golden Triangle in Southwest Wyoming. And so the PHMA Plus is basically priority habitat management areas with limited exceptions. It was brand new. We'd never heard of it. It came out in the final. We want it removed. And then the third thing is we need to update our mapping. So I think you'll see CIGIT go through this process so that the governor can update the executive order. And then the executive order is what we will use to try to negotiate consistency in the supplemental EIS. Those are just my speculations at this point. Nothing has been decided. But are there any questions regarding sage grouse?
I don't believe so, Drew.
Okay. Thunder Basin National Grasslands, we did have a mapping meeting with the subcommittee last week. And basically it's the same answer that we're getting for everything right now. We've got a lot of uncertainty. There have been, as you all know by watching the news, we've had a lot of executive orders issued by the president, which have put a pause on certain things or which have withdrawn or rescinded documents and rules and regulations. So we're working through that process. The other thing for mapping with Thunder Basin is currently there's no money. There's no money for implementation. There's no money for mapping. We're concerned about funds that have been taken and used by the Forest Service for different projects, leaving limited staffing, limited funding in place. So until we get through a couple things, one, the pause, the freeze, the withdrawal, the rescinding of all these different documents. Two, the continuing resolution for funding the government. That decision should come up in March, because right now we're operating under a continuing resolution. So I think in March, hopefully Congress will get that resolved and the agencies will be funded, and then we can figure out what kind of budget we're working with. But right now there's just a lot of uncertainty. So we talked about mapping. We're going to continue to try to find funding sources through all the parties to see if we can put a mapping project together. It might be a more condensed mapping project for Thunder Basin, but we're going to see what we can do with the resources that we've got. So again, there's just a lot of uncertainty. Any questions on Thunder Basin?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And then lastly, I'll just say, kind of with my other hat, commissioners, as the grants integration manager for the governor. So the grants management office, we've been having a lot of requests coming in or questions coming in regarding the president's executive order, which rescinded the Green New Deal, which within that, it put on pause any federal funding applications for EJA, the Infrastructure Investment Jobs Act, or IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act. So if you have any of those funding opportunities in your county or your communities that have been put on hold, the reason is the president wants to make sure that any funding now and in the future will be consistent with his priorities. But it puts us in this awkward position right now. So some of the guidance that we've gotten is if it is an EJA or IRA funding opportunity, those are specifically what have been paused. If it's funding outside of that, that's more like legacy funding or block grant funding, that may not be held up. So if you've got these grants and you have questions on them, don't hesitate to give us a call and we can help you work through those on whether or not they're paused or stayed. And so I think that the one big concern that we're hearing come out is funding that has been awarded and that is being implemented but has been paused, and those costs have been accrued. So I think that there's some concern there that the awards will somehow be taken back and they won't have the money to pay the contractors to do the work that has already been done. So we're working through all of that stuff, and we're working through it with the federal agencies as well. And hopefully we're going to be getting guidance from that soon. We're working through all of that stuff, and we're working through it with the federal agencies as well. And hopefully we're going to be getting guidance from that soon. I know that was very convoluted, but do you have any questions regarding funding opportunities or awards?
No, ma'am. I think, kind of understand there's going to be some hurdles.
There's going to be hurdles, but I also think, commissioners, it's going to be good to just take a pause. It's going to be so chaotic right now. but it'll be much better if we just can get some consistent guidance moving forward. And probably aligning with the Trump administration is going to be better for us mostly than funding opportunities we had under the Biden administration. So to eliminate confusion, it's probably a good thing to pause for a minute, but it might be painful. So we'll try to work through that the best that we can.
I believe you.
Oh, it'll be painful.
Yeah.
I'm sure that. All right. That concludes my report. Commissioners, do you have anything additional for me?
Ed does.
I got one thing, Drew. I'd like the board to hear it from you. I'm gonna put you on the spot. Was visiting Cheyenne about our good neighbors of Natrona, Converse, and Campbell, how they help our projects. Would you explain a little bit of that to the board?
Natrona, Converse, and Campbell.
Yeah.
You mean as specific to me?
Well, as the work you do, we just kind of rubber stamp our name in it and saves us a ton of money.
Okay, I think I understand where you're headed, Commissioner. So I will say I do not have any contracts with Natrona, but with Campbell County and Converse County, I do all of their natural resource policy work. So when we have had issues come about that I am not being paid by FNRPA, like the BLM and the Black Hills documents, you cost share those, and I'm being paid by FNRPA. But if there are other issues that come out that I feel are important for Weston County to submit a letter and be on the record, Converse and Campbell County pay for all of the research that I do, and most of the effort that goes into putting those letters together, and they basically pay for all of that, and then I end up just spending a few hours making your letter very specific to Weston County. So Campbell and Converse County are givers in that sense, and they do allow me to do a little bit of work to include you so that you can also participate in some of those processes.
Thank you. You explained it a lot better than I could have.
Appreciate
Well,
it,
and
Drew.
I'm usually very upfront with them too, to say, hey, Crook, Weston, and Niobrara should really comment on this too, and they'll say, we understand. So
Thanks a bunch, Drew. Appreciate you getting on. Sorry about the delay.
no worries, commissioners. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Drew.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Mr. White, I sincerely apologize for getting late, but you're up, man. So, I think there's questions about the ramp.
Yeah, just how we want to move forward with that. We want to go ahead and tear it off of there. We've had numerous people look at it. The engineers have looked at it. We fixed the steps. The engineered a fix on that, so the steps are good. We still need to repair that side a little bit just to dress it up. Part of the problem is the amount of salt we've been throwing on everything doesn't help, but I understand that's a liability thing probably. But as far as the ramp, I think that the power lines preclude us from being able to just like lift it away, you know. So I think all we can do is try to cut it loose from the building. It's brick, and then it was poured in between, and then the brick is set on top of it. So there's some risk of trying to hammer that away, whether that's going to damage that, you know, it's just a front on there affecting it or whatever, you know. But I don't know. I don't really want to take on all that liability of having to repair the whole front, you know. But I mean, we'll cut it loose. I think that's the only the guys that they're just do sawing, you know. They feel comfortable doing one cut, but as far as like cutting it into strips, I don't think that they, unless we were to shore the whole thing up maybe somehow. But the whole thing's just kind of I don't think there's an easy way to do it.
When you say one cut, what do you mean? Just
they're gonna try to cut it like 3 inches from the building.
All the way through it?
All the way through. Yeah, because it's about 8 inches thick, and then we'd hammer it loose from there.
Does it matter? I mean, aesthetically, it might not be the prettiest thing in the world, but we're also talking about a building that's got a lot of issues.
Right, exactly.
And
And
it doesn't cost us a ton to
Right.
try to mess up that brick and all that, the rest of it, I don't know.
Right. I think we cut it loose. It'll still be bumped out. It runs at an angle, which is unfortunate. You know, we talked about just putting some sort of stucco or something over it. You know, and it's still gonna be there. It's not gonna be, I don't think there's any way to make it pretty, you know. We tear that whole part where it loops down at the end, all that would come out. I think they'd pick up some parking there, they were thinking, or I don't think they use that door a lot because it's hard to get through there. So I think it'd kind of free that up there. But there's gonna be some sort of landscaping or something to be figured out there too. I don't know. It's just not a great situation as far as I mean, getting the ramp away is part of the problem, but then I think the building needs something at some point, you know, as far as what the long-term fix is. If they don't make that brick anymore, there's not enough left there. We thought maybe we could tear that part of, but when we cut that out for the elevator, that mortar is stuck to it like you can't chip it off. We had to cut the ones we had to cut it off. So there's going to be no saving the brick that are there. So I don't know. I mean, we can sure go in there and cut it, and then just start hammering it away. I think is probably
Hammering it away from that 3-inch.
Yeah. Right.
Cut it and just start dismantling it as you go.
Yeah. And then, like it's, you know, the building's not, some of that stuff is not great, so whether that vibration is going to affect something else, you know, I think it would just be that brick. It's, the bones of that building are good. That concrete that's there, it's super hard, you know. It's just that front, so.
Yeah, you know, I know we had this discussion way back when we started this project, that, for a better term, is, you know, time and material as we go into that, because it's, you don't know what you're going to get into when you get into it even, so.
Right. It may go really easy.
Yeah.
It may not. I don't know.
And that was, we kind of was aware of that when we started the project.
Yeah. The only other thing I think that might be pertinent is to put some sort of canopy over that door once that comes off. Just to kind of protect that door a little bit, because that door swings out.
Into the elevator.
Yeah. Some sort of just canopy to keep the snow and stuff just back a little bit.
Protect it a little bit.
Yeah, protect that door. But besides that, you know, we'll build a temporary, you know, shelter over that, so they'd still be able to use that the whole time. And then we'll put the railing back in at the top once we get it all dismantled, I guess. So, yeah. And how far you want us to go with it as far as putting that back together where the driveway is, I mean, we could revisit that after we get that tore out of there. Or I don't know if it gets concreted back in or if it's landscaped, or, I mean, it's just all gravel now. Could just be pea gravel back in.
Time frame that you'd have to basically have that entryway shut down where you're demoing that.
I don't think we'd have to shut it down probably very much. Maybe a couple days if we were working right over the top of it. The rest of the time I think we'd just build a tunnel basically to it, and so that it could be used, and then we'll fence it off. So the sidewalk will be shut down.
The stairs is still be accessible too.
And the stairs will be accessible.
Okay, so it wouldn't be total access shut off.
No,
no. Just the elevator for a little
while. And I don't even think that that's probably too much of an issue. I mean, if there was a need, we could shut down and probably. They also said that they could bring them in the back if absolutely had to. So, but yeah, if that's the path forward, we can sure work on getting that cut.
Well, that engineer, back, it's been years ago now, he said it needs to go. I mean, it's rotten. There's rebar starting to show underneath it, and I think we do whatever we can to maybe preserve the structure as is, like you say, cut it 3 inches away, and then we look at it and assess from there, maybe move forward if If it doesn't look that bad, I don't know.
Leave it.
Yeah, I mean, we're not talking the courthouse here, it's.
Right.
I don't know.
Historical.
Yeah.
Well, and then that's just part of the whole bag of worms, you know, that, you know, I think there's a major project there maybe someday that needs to be tackled, so. But that was, I mean, one way or the other, it's gotta come down at some point,
Yeah.
so.
Anybody else, any feelings, you folks?
I don't really. So would you want that in a motion to have them, authorize them to saw it 3 inches from the building and dismantle it?
Yeah, I think if they think they can do it with the least amount of damage to the current building, I think that's probably the way to go forward. I trust Nick, and I remember you telling us years ago that you weren't certain what was gonna happen once you got to this stage, so I think you're putting my full faith in you guys.
Any comments about it?
What?
Do you have any comments?
It needs to go, that's for sure. I mean, that building needs a lot of work. I found out when we had the architectural specialist out last time to look at windows at the library, I had him look at those windows, and they were putting upside down.
Yeah, we found that helpful. Put the other one, yeah.
So they get windows.
That's why they leak so bad, and all the sills are rotted out because all the windows are in upside down. So
It's
they're
nice,
supposed, they're built to drain out, and they, yeah,
Funnels in.
yeah. So,
Okay.
Well, want that in
Yeah, I
motion?
think probably.
I'd make a motion to authorize White's Construction to basically saw the ramp 3 inches from the building and dismantle it. I'd make a motion to authorize White's Construction to basically saw the ramp 3 inches from the building and dismantle it.
Second.
Proper motion, is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Good luck.
There you go.
Be
Keep us updated.
Yeah, be
All right.
careful.
Thanks, we'll do it. Thank you.
Thanks, Nick. Good update. Susie, sorry we're running
Oh,
late.
you're okay. Okay, Susie over from Weston County Treasurer. I sent Kim to a grant school down in Cheyenne in August, and I failed to come in here and request that you guys pay for it, so now I'm coming in to request $1,042.77 to be put into my travel account, because that account's now deleted. Not deleted, depleted, I guess. I sent her to the grant school to, give her more education to work on the grants for the county.
Is there any place else in your budget you can just transfer it out of?
No, my budget's pretty cut and dried.
Okay, well, just grasping for straws, hoping.
And within that retiring too, I don't know what that's gonna do after this month anyway.
Oh, you'll have all sorts, oh, we can't take that up.
Yeah, no, I don't know what she's gonna be taking for vacation and.
No. We've still got those funds. Yeah. Which, I don't know why that wouldn't.
He's out of that.
Yeah. Susie's okay with that.
Yeah, I'm fine. However you have to do it. Please.
Anybody else have a different idea or what you got?
I think we agreed to let you send her, and I think she learned a lot, and she's helping us out. I think
She's
it's a
trying
good
to help,
thing.
yeah. All the loops that she's gotta jump through to get something going, so.
I think it's a good thing.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll have a resolution at the next meeting.
Okay.
So you'll do that as a,
I'll do a resolution at the next meeting. We have to do.
yeah, can we, I mean, there's we do it like in a month, maybe maybe we'll have to do another adjustment or something, but we're just gonna do it all at once, just at one time.
I can do it at the next meeting. There's a lot of accounts that are needing addressed, so I can bring that to the next meeting.
Bring it to the next meeting, then like a month from now, we can do the resolution. That way we can, instead of doing a whole bunch of them, just do
Yeah, just do one.
one with everything.
Does that work, time frame?
Yeah,
Okay.
as long as I don't get in trouble. Not any money.
All right. Thanks,
Okay,
Susan.
thank you.
Appreciate
Thank you.
it. All right, moving on to resolution 2019-12. So, last couple weeks have been interesting. Back in 2019, we adopted a resolution that was basically because this Wyoming legislator created a public records request format to be followed, that we had to set a designated public records person for the county to be basically the go-to between anybody asking for records and anybody and the person that the records are being requested from. And with that, it also designated some different guidelines to follow, I guess. If there's we have to designate this person, we have to basically establish that chain of command and try to follow that to the best of our ability. And when I was looking at this a week or two ago, we had Alex Berger's name in further resolved instead of the Weston County Attorney, which Michael's handling that now in lieu of Alex Berger. So was that the only change we did? So we just updated it to replace Alex Berger's name with Weston County Attorney, so that try to clean that confusion up. And I don't know, there's a copy of it if you guys want to look at it quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, I didn't realize back when that resolution we passed it that it actually specifically said his name instead of the county attorney. Kind of an oversight back then.
So to help me understand better, so if you make a public records request, then you go to the county attorney,
Yep.
who then follows through on it.
This is a copy of the sheet that is provided to the requester, and then within, I think they have 7 days to then give it to the person that's being requested from, which I forget that they call it like the person of interest or something in the statute.
Custodian, I think.
Custodian.
Yeah.
And what it does is this gives the requester a place to guide everything that they're looking for to the official custodian, and then an option of I would like to inspect the records on site or receive copies, and then there's costs associated with it. Then it's sent back to the requester for their approval basically on those costs and if they would like to proceed or not. Good.
You know, the reason it was, Alex was, to do that then is if some of the records was confidential, that shouldn't be just, some of it is public and some of it shouldn't be public. That was up to the attorney to make that discrepancy, if it's, I guess, justifiable to be out as public.
So, and with that said, if the person that says I don't accept this, there's a representative in Cheyenne. It's the ombudsman, that then that person can go to and try to work through the ombudsman. I hate that word. To try to figure out a resolution to get these records if the keeper of the record has issue with divulging those records.
Okay.
So, some people like that idea. I gather now that other people don't, because it just adds one more layer of bureaucracy potentially in between things. But I also understand people may have issues with that's something that they might deem sensitive, and so, but we'll delve into that in a minute. But right now we just need to clear up this resolution.
Make a motion to pass resolution 2019-12/2025-4.
Second.
Motion properly seconded. Any other discussion?
I got a question. Is there, I mean, it's speaking specifically of designated public records. Is there, give me an example of a designated public record that would not be available to the requester?
One thing I can think off the top of my head is perhaps records that are involved with law enforcement investigations, stuff like that, for criminal prosecutions. There's talking about the exceptions.
Well, yeah, I mean, I don't know if that to me doesn't sound like a designated public record though. Is it?
Yeah, there's quite a list of them, of exceptions listed in the statute.
Yeah, there's
I mean, something involving minors, medical personnel. They don't want you to potentially have confidential information maybe on your employees, so you may not be able to inspect certain records that you have in files. It's pretty lengthy. I mean, it's but at the same juncture, a heck of a lot of, emails, things like that. I mean, it's pretty much any kind of billing or anything that happens financially is available.
Those would probably be classified as private then, correct? Or are they still public?
An email between you and Ed on a county email, my assumption is probably a public record if it's done on your county account.
So, yeah, Garrett, or Commissioner Morton, if you want to look at 16.4203, B is the discretionary ability of the custodian to not release. You have to make sure you're right on that's there. And then subsection D talks about mandatory exceptions that you can't release, like personnel files, trade secrets. Stuff you'd really usually think that is privileged stuff. There's just a ton of them.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, this moves into what's been going on the last couple of weeks. And Michael, if you feel like in some juncture this needs to be discussed privately, but I don't want to, I'm not trying to throw anybody under any buses here, but somehow here's a public records request filled out properly in the past, and this is our way of doing things. Somehow this did not happen in what's in the current newspaper going on, the articles, if you've been reading the newspaper. And I don't know why that didn't happen. That's the chain of command, and it should have happened. And to the point where I even interjected myself and asked it to be backdated. And some of the concern that Clerk Hadlock had with releasing the records that were being asked for, which are all ES&S emails and
And the billing.
billing for 2020, 2022, and 2024 are currently under investigation by the governor's office. And so Michael's responsibility, or Michael's office, I don't know if you designate this to one of your people in your office or whatever, is to get this filled out. They ask exactly what they'd like here. This is then filled out down here. The clerk receives it. That's filled out, given back. And that part of the chain of command seemed to have fallen apart. And the next step is then if the clerk or whoever feels that this potentially is under, and tell me if this is correct, because I don't know this. If something's under investigation, is it still just easily, readily available to anybody that asks for it?
Well, the exception you're looking under is more of an investigation.
I'm not looking at that. That's all law enforcement stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just curious in general.
No, I mean, that'd still be public record. I don't know of any other exception that would apply here, because I know that some people might say it's under investigation by the eight attorney general or something, but that's more of law enforcement purposes.
Yeah, and I don't think that applies. I'm not barking down that road, but what does happen though is an individual has a concern, and then, because I would be concerned if I was under investigation probably about releasing things that are being investigated maybe, and via statute you have that right to then go to that ombudsman and say, I have concerns, and that ombudsman is in place to help both parties work towards a mutual agreement to try to make this work out, and do that within a 30-day time frame. So, and even to a point where they can forgive all costs associated to it. They can direct the keeper of the record to immediately disclose it because in their view that it's available and needs to be seen. But that's the process of what's going on. And I think that we have got to, because we're under scrutiny always, which rightfully so, because we're public officials, but we've got to follow the procedure moving forward, and because it's caused some headache and it's caused some heartache between some offices in the county, and I don't want to pick any sides. I just want things to move the way they should, and really Michael's role is only as a go-between. I mean, he's not even supposed to give, I mean, all you are is just say, here it is, clerk, here it is, whoever. If you don't accept it, you may petition to the ombudsman, and that's how the process moves forward. But so, with that said, hopefully we can not have that fall apart again. I don't know if there's anything anybody else would like to add.
I'm just questioning the process. So that form would typically come from your office? I mean, be filled out at your office?
Well, generally, they can get it right online, print it off, fill it out,
okay,
and then email it over to me.
Okay.
My concern is becoming to form over substance. If you get a good request and then forward it to the custodian and they can respond with fees, I don't know why they specifically have to use that specific piece of paper when you get the same process done, right? So, but we'll try to adhere to that form as much as possible.
That's one.
So I had a question on the, I know that there were going to be some reasonable fees included with that. Where is the determination of the reasonable fees? Where does that originate?
I know.
The fees.
Do we have like a fee?
The fees are set by each individual office.
So, like
a price sheet or something like that?
No, on what it takes for each office to do. Each office is different on what they're
right, and I would imagine
that's why at the
that.
bottom it says, so what we all have done before, if something comes into our office, it gets sent to Michael. Or Alex, this has been happening since 2019. It gets sent to Michael. We drive people to the website, fill out that form, give it to Michael. Michael acknowledges the date that it came into his office because, you know, 2 more have came in since that verbal one came through or that email one came through. He acknowledges it. He, you know, will email us or whatever, say, is this okay? You know, what do you think? And then he'll send it to us. We acknowledge, you know, yes, this is something that we can do, or no, we need to talk to you. This is not something that is public records. This is why we need to talk. And then we'll obtain what we need to obtain, get it back to him, and then he gives it to the people that need to get it.
So
But we have to sign that we have acknowledged the receipt of it by a certain date.
It's time sensitive.
Yes, it's time sensitive.
Yeah, I think you have 7 days.
Good question. Do you have a price, like what you charge for this stuff? Do you have that printed out, or is it just a?
No, it's, the copies are 50 cents. That's what.
I mean, that's
in our
something
office.
that's just a standard.
For our office,
Yeah.
yes. And then however long it takes for the stuff to be, you know, searched for and.
So basically, like this would be a time and material, however much time it takes.
All they want is to lose the public notice requirements so they can keep even more secrets than they're keeping now. I can't side with local governments in these fights anymore. I used to. For 20 years, I sided with them. I can't. I've got to back the legislature and I've got to back the Freedom Caucus in sort of breaking the chain and bringing local governments to heel.
And I think that that'll bring the people to heel. While I think the people deserve some, I think that people have become too accommodated to everything. And when you peel back government and local government, you're going to make the people uncomfortable too, but I think it'll make everybody stronger.
And hey, if the people can't handle it, they can vote these guys out in 2 years, right? That's the thing about the Wyoming legislature is they can neither help too much too rapidly or hurt too much too rapidly. Wyoming does have good reserve accounts.
By time and material, however much time it takes to look.
And it's not, you know, emails, you cannot come into my office and look on my computer.
Yeah.
That stuff has to be printed off.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's where that ombudsman comes in. They can forgive that too. They can say, you know what, you shouldn't be charging for this.
Right. I got a question, is there a possibility that?
And that's just an old one showing that
Right.
Newsletter Journal knows that they have to fill that out.
Well, and I would assume that per department, and I understand that, you know, maybe there's more time involved with this department in requesting a certain record or something like that, but is there a possibility that 2 requesting entities could get charged 2 separate amounts requesting the same information?
No.
There is no possibility.
It just depends on how long it takes us, because all of this, that on this one that
Right.
we're discussing, the information had to be, and I let Michael know that it was gonna take a long
Right.
time, so for this person to say that I never let Michael know that any of this was taking place, I let him know right away that it was gonna take a while, because it was a lot of stuff, and it was gonna be 3 years going back, and I asked him multiple times to please get me this form that was filled out so that I, you know, could see the request, and you know, it was days going through stuff and getting stuff out of the vault because it was stuff in the basement, so.
Well, and I think.
But that's not the request, that was just an older
That's
one
just
to
a
show you guys.
Right,
Yes.
right.
And I think Clerk Hadlock's concern, which I view as legitimate, but it may not be accurate, is it public record if it's currently under investigation? Can it wait till after the investigation is over? And maybe that's not the case. I don't know. I'm not an attorney to answer that. And I think Michael basically said it's probably not. It's
right.
You should be made available. So
Well, and what
Yeah, go ahead.
What I get hung up with is, and I don't know if it's the terminology, because we're speaking with the terms that it is public record. So to me, anything that falls into the category of public record is public record. Like, there's no exemption to that. Because if there is an exemption, to me, it's not public record, it's private record or a possible private record at that point. So I just want to know that, I just want to make sure that on the wording of the resolution and what we're actually speaking on, that we're talking about public records. So these are records that are available to the public with no exemptions. Otherwise, that would be classified as non-public.
Right.
Is that correct?
Yeah, if it's subject
Okay.
to one of those exceptions.
Go ahead.
You know, and I think maybe clear that up, like emails, that's public record.
Right.
But it is not accessible to the public by clicking on a button. They actually
Right.
have to go through the channels to get it.
Right.
You know,
But they can
they're-
still
'cause
acquire
in that, yeah, because in that email chain, you know, in that person's email, there may be stuff that's not public. Well, if they had access to that email, somebody could just go through and look at everything.
Right.
It is defining, it's not that it's not public record, it's the access to it.
Right. And there's a process to
Yeah.
access it.
And that's what this is that process to
Right.
gain access to that public record.
When you have a moment, you ought to read the statutes. They're pretty
There's a lot
clear on
to
it.
a public records request.
The one thing, just a sec, Mike, I'll get you. I did read in there somewhere, if a request is made by a news agency, then it is available to any other news agency, I believe. I don't know how that then works with the cost associated with that. And then it is quite lengthy in the stuff, like you say, public record, except for those ones restricted by private information or whatever. Go ahead, Michael.
Just a couple things. I think because it does say in the statute that the custodian shall have like a resolution or some sort of something somewhere saying that the requester should know this is what I'm going to be expecting when I make my request. I don't know if each office has that here. I have not seen any of that because it could become a shock to a requester. Like, okay, and this should be $5, but it turns out to be 100 or something like that. So maybe if we make sure that each individual office has some sort of resolution, or even maybe the board can make some recommendations or something, so there's clear chain of command on that as well.
But see, that's why they put on here, I will pay up to this, because, I mean, if they'll say they'll only pay $5, and then we come back and say it's gonna be $500, they're gonna say, oh heavens, no, I thought I was only gonna pay $5, there's no way I'm gonna pay $500.
But that's what I was gonna say, is if every office, I kind of understand that every office would have different costs for research, but I think for protection of each office and this resolution, it might behoove everybody to actually have on a piece of paper, this is how much we charge per hour for the research, this is how much we charge for the copies, this is how much, even if it's different,
Right.
then you can
Basically
show that
price
to people, and you can say, well, it may take us approximately 20 hours, but 20 to 30 hours, and we charge X amount per hour.
I'd wondered about a
That
fee
kind of
schedule.
thing.
That's
A fee schedule of some kind.
I think that's a must, and the reason being, it could look very one-sided. Say, for instance, an individual that doesn't necessarily get along with that department requests something that is public, and then the discretion of the pricing comes from that department. There could be some discriminatory pricing involved with those public records if there isn't a price sheet to it. It looks to me like we're dealing with kind of two separate topics. One of them is the definition of the public record, making sure that that is available and following the correct procedure, and also on top of that, a pricing, a fair pricing. If we had no shop pricing at our shop, and a person that you don't like gets overcharged for the same services, that's discriminatory. So I want to make sure that we've got a pricing, some type of a pricing platform exposed on the front side.
Yeah, I think when Becky did her figuring, she was doing it by her basic hourly rate, and I understand that because our individual and her two employees that worked on it as well, and that I think is probably a good baseline to start at. If it's $20 an hour, that's what it is. And there is language in that statute of establishing a price schedule of some sort. And I have no issue moving forward with we figure that out. And so it's obvious what it's going to be before anybody gets into that deep into the woods. But I think that it's a lot of what we've discussed here, even with coming up with a price. That's where that ombudsman still comes in and can say, "Oh, you're out of line," or you are in line, and so. Anything
Well, it
else?
should be clearly defined.
Yeah.
So when the requester makes that request, and no explanation is given in response, then it blows up. It can blow up.
No, yeah, I get it, and it'd be easy to do. We do it right now by motion. And
I'd say like, how handy would it be, you got this on the front side, you flip it over, this is the fee schedule for, the assessor's office, or the clerk's office, or the treasurer's office, right on the back side, this is the fee schedule. If we have to go through, this is the hourly rate we charge, this is per copy. Something like that would be handy for your office. When somebody questions it, it's like, oh, right here, this is what it's gonna cost you per hour for these people to do this research. So, it's something I think we could work on very easily. Maybe take a lot of the headache and gray area out of it down the road.
yeah, and I see both sides of that. You could have somebody that is absolutely asking for, some copious amount of stuff, and could cause you a tremendous amount of work, and which I get. People need access to public records. So, but at the same token, there is I agree 100% with a fee structure of some sort, whether it's $25 an hour, or it's $20 an hour. If you're taking an employee away from their job to take 8 hours to delve through 6 years worth of records, there should be potentially some. And that ombudsman might say, tough luck, or if I think that it's more important that this is out there, then you receive payment for it. But go ahead, Bear.
I guess I have a question. Have we come up with a solution to the difficulty that came in the paper? Is that we're going forward? Has communication gotten better and things worked out?
I'm not sure where clerk's office is at this point.
The
I
requester
have a call to ombudsman, so.
is currently
I
working
can
with
let
the
you know.
ombudsman and to try to figure out a solution to everything that's going on. And I'm not going to delve into the emails that I've read, but they're working on it.
Do we need to establish a pricing structure per department?
I don't have a problem with it.
So I'll get with the other department heads and I will, so we're basically all of our employees are basically paid the same. So I'll work on something, I'll send it out to them, see what their thoughts are, and then I'll try to bring it back to you guys at the next meeting.
Next meeting, okay.
Yeah.
Then we as a board can approve it, or?
Yeah.
And there is ways for them to get access to stuff for free. If it's just, you don't always get charged for public records. Similar to the one that you saw, they were able to do that for free. If it's a minimal amount of work, or a digital copy can be provided somehow without having to dig through too deeply or whatever, there is avenues, but. All right.
So did that take care of our 1050, or
I believe so, yeah.
the 1050 scratched?
Yeah.
Okay.
So next meeting on old business, let's do that.
Okay.
And
Price.
get a fee schedule. Hello, sir.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
No, snowy.
Morning. Good morning. How's things up there?
Cold.
Yeah.
Just like they are anyplace else. Just kind of around here anyway. We had some questions. Thermometer said 5 below this morning.
Thank you.
5 below.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
You probably had a lot colder than that, didn't you?
It was chilly out there, yeah. James?
We wanted to give you an update, and we had some questions because I'm not sure how the county works versus the city. I'm used to just the city.
When you do your update, just maybe state your name first for everybody, and look forward to hearing this. It's getting expensive already, it looks like.
Yeah. I'm Gideon Dixon. I'm president of Malacamp Board, just Greg Stump. He's secretary treasurer. And this Jimmy is the guy that does all the work out there.
No, that's
his wife. Well, as you know, the south end of the lodge had a leak, really bad one. We did find out it was a small fitting that blew out. Currently, there's no heat in that end of the building. We use space heaters all over the place to try and keep the thawed out. After, I believe, Christy contacted the insurance company, or maybe Becky. The insurance company arranged for ServPro to come in and remove all the wet material and dry the building. All the flooring came out, all the ceilings came out, the majority of the walls downstairs and part of it upstairs as well. The insurance is paying for the damage minus our deductible of $25,000. One question we have, I know with the city anyway, any project over $75,000, we have to bid it out. We're probably looking between $200,000 and $400,000 to put this back. But I didn't know, and Mr. Stolken can probably answer the question better than anybody. Do we have to bid this out because it's through the insurance?
I wondered that too. In the last email I read it from them. It said that they had construction crews in line already to proceed. And I also wondered, because of that, if you have to go through the process of bidding this out, we may be August before somebody's in there.
We will lose all our revenue from the summer. We will not have camps at all. None. They don't get started probably this week or next week. We're going to be pushing the June deadline to get this done.
I'm pretty sure that it doesn't. But I'll
I would assume, because I asked the the gentleman's name that you're working with? Tony. About this, and he didn't think it was required, because I was a little uncertain about it as well. But at that token, I don't know if that's actually 100% correct.
Yeah, under Title 15 of the state statutes, I know we're governed by that, but I didn't know if the county was.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Now, I mean, this is because with ServPro, they're not an entity like that. Well, you guys, ServPro is basically in charge of this now.
Yeah.
And that's on the bidding of it. I wonder where if they don't have to bid it out because they're not a government entity, even though they're working for a government entity.
Or are they working for the insurance company?
They're working for the insurance company.
Yeah, so that's, the government entity of this is kind of out of the picture.
Yeah, I think it's more like capital construction or capital improvements. I think this is a little different since it's right under the insurance provision. I don't think that bidding process applies. I'm looking at the statutes and
we're only paying the $25,000. The insurance company's the one that's paying it, and they're the ones that are taking care of all of that.
But your $25,000 is a contract. It's not a bid. It's not anything. It's a contract payment.
Yep.
So it wouldn't be under
No, we
anything.
do have a $25,000.
Right, but it's still a contract. It's not like it wouldn't be up for a bid or something like that. It's to pay a contract, not, part of the reconstruction or anything
It's
else.
to pay the 25,000 is
You're-
just the payment to the insurance company for our
Deductible.
deductible.
So it's a
It has
contract.
nothing to do with
Right.
any of it.
The question I had on it, and I talked to Tony a little bit, because Steve Mitchell is Chubb adjuster. He was gonna go ahead and say, we figure we owe you at least this much. And he was gonna cut the county a check, and I was like, well, maybe we better hold off on that, because I think that might get sticky, I guess, running it through the county rather than him just paying, say, Serpro or our contractors, whatever you guys decide to do.
I think it would be better for them to pay straight to Servpro, don't you? That leaves us out of the loop as far as looking for bids and stuff. I mean, the insurance company chose Servpro immediately to come in.
Yes.
So this was a decision by the insurance company. That kind of leaves us, we don't have to make those decisions then.
If
Right, Michael? We don't have to go through the process then because it's
Yeah,
completely out of our
Yeah,
hands.
the contract with the insurance, the insurance covered it. The deductible is contractual, it's just, I believe it's outside of this whole process.
Well, I mean, I look like that there, I mean, the first 25,000, the Servpro bills, I mean, we know we're on the hook with the county, you guys, we all know we're on the hook for that, but then after that, I think it should be between the insurance company and the Servpro, that's.
Well, we
We're all
really
like-
just wanted to double check before we told Servpro to get after it, because
Yeah.
they've already got contractors lined out. We told them our deadline of June 6th, or the first of June, we need it done by then to be able to hold camps, because we start 1st of June.
May 15th.
May 15th. And this year, we have Sheridan County School District that wants to bring kids in as early as May 15th.
So as long as you stay away from any sort of additional, any aspect of anything additional, you probably, I would assume, like Mike said, you're covered on it's outside of the scope of, if they're just ripping out and replacing under the contract with the insurance company, I think that's probably correct. And I guess if somebody takes issue with it, I think right now I have no problem moving forward and then if somebody takes issue with it, we deal with it.
And I agree with that too, although I am a little concerned on a leg of quality control when it comes down to the determination of the contractor and the insurance company themselves. Where's the leg of quality control? Themselves. Where's the leg of quality control in the process of repairs? If the communications between the insurance company and the contractor, just that it leaves quality control in the sole lap of the contractor at that point. Is that agreeable? I guess.
No,
Okay.
Servpro is actually the one that will be quality control.
Okay.
They're the ones actually hiring the contractors and working through the insurance. They're playing middleman.
Okay.
They'll be the general on the job, and they've already made contact with local electricians, plumbers. I think they were having trouble finding carpenters and that sort of stuff locally to be able to do this in time.
But they do have some crews of their own.
Yeah.
That they can bring out of Denver here for it to get started in a quick fashion.
That sounds like you got that under control pretty good. My question was on the preventative side of it. What are you guys anticipating for the addition of the forced air furnace?
We don't know.
Okay.
We would like to add heat to it, or at least put the ducting in right now while everything's stripped. It would make it a lot easier to do it. It would also help prevent this from happening in the future. We've toyed for several years now of actually opening the lodge and keeping it open during the winter, and actually being able to rent it out during the winter time. But we can't because we don't have heat in it. The only heats the main part. The east and west end is cold.
Cold.
We have to use space heaters to keep the bathrooms thawed out and stuff like this.
We've had several requests that we had to turn down because we couldn't accommodate that many people.
Yeah, honestly, if you could get the heat, I think it'd be a heck of an opportunity to rent that place in the wintertime.
Yeah.
How many people would love to have a Christmas party there, or,
Yep.
I think it's...
And part of the problem, it's electric, everything's electric on that side to keep it heated. With this furnace, we can double it as a 110. I can throw the little Honda generator and then still heat the whole place on that side if we lose power. Right now, we got kerosene heaters, and then we got to take the propane heat, and all that to keep it going if we drop power.
I can't imagine the electric heat is probably very efficient either in comparison to your forced air.
Not at all. Our difficulty is we don't have the money to do it. With losing 2 years worth of snowmobiling, last 2 years everybody canceled their snowmobiling. We've postponed a couple other projects that we wanted to do as well, simply because we don't have the revenue to do it right now.
What do you anticipate cost on it?
25,000, 24,800, almost 25. We got a bid from Summit, but if nothing else, run the ductwork. That's all. We can have it all set up to where we can throw a furnace.
We could do that outside the scope of what they're doing, as long as they weren't in the way of whatever ServPro's trying to do.
And right now's the time to get in.
Yeah, and when we were up, Gideon and I went up there last Friday and spoke with Tony, and Tony actually offered, he said, this would be the time to at least get the ductwork in. He brought it to us. We were already thinking about it, and we talked about it as a board.
To me, this would be an easy sell to the SLIB. It's either under the emergency side or some side, because like, hey, we had this water damage. Now, now's the time to do this. Well, it's tore up because that board likes projects that you're not redoing something you've done down the road. This might be one that we could sell to them. It's like, hey, we went forward with this while it was open. Can we get reimbursed for it? That would, on the business side, it makes no sense not to do this. That's my personal feeling on the business side. It makes no expense not to do this.
Well, we think that we could get, provided we get snow, we can get bukus of money in the wintertime. Revenue off of that lodge.
Normally, how many months is the lodge open?
June through September. October.
You got 4 to 5 months at best. You're opening this up to more than double.
Like I said, we've got 3 new school districts that want to bring kids in, but we don't have the availability of the time. By heating the rest of the lodge instead of just the main portion, it opens it up to where we can house.
We can go into May and November for the 5th graders,
Niobrara County, they wanted to bring some kids up, and actually there's enough sleeping space in the lodge that they all can stay in there and shower in there, as small as their group is. Like I said, we got Sheridan County now that wants to come in.
Sheridan wants to come twice this year, don't they?
Well, let's see how it goes. They're bringing one school for 2 grades, 4th, 5th, and then if that works out, maybe it'll be another Campbell County deal, which would be a huge boost for us to have all of Sheridan.
So if time's of the essence of getting this done, you got to go out and probably get somebody to commit to a price on it for us so that we can make a decision. If it's $5,000 or whatever it is, we could probably give you the go-ahead now to proceed with it, as long as it stays under a certain cost. to at least get the ductwork.
And we would need bids for that.
Only if it came over a certain what is the price?
7,500.
7,500, okay.
So, I mean, if you can get the ductwork done for under that, if you can't, if your first guy tells you $7,505, you probably better get a couple more bids. Or we need to
Is
advertise.
it 7,500 or did they raise that?
75. from what I remember.
And we've got a little bit of time for the ductwork, because we have to get the electricians and plumbers.
7,500.
Yeah. They still have to get the electricians and plumbers in there first before they start sheetrocking, so, we had to strip all the showers, we had to redo everything. It's completely empty in there.
So you think you got a couple weeks to get a price and maybe somebody can get up there?
Yeah, I think so.
I bet I can get a price today. Because I can run most of it. He just needs to come in and tell me where to put the ducts, the vents.
And we have 3 contractors in town that we could get bids from.
I move that the Mallet Board go ahead and roll forward with the installation of the ductwork if it's under the 7,500 at their discretion for suggested contractors.
I'll second that. I mean, it's,
Proper motion on the floor. Is there any discussion? I think that's a good place to start, Garrett. Good motion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Secondarily, if it's over, can you let Clerk Hadlock know, and maybe she can, do we need to advertise that? Or do they
would have to do the report, but yeah.
If it's only $5 over, I'll come up with the $5.
Well, I mean, the opportunity, if you have that place heated year, it could have it open year round. It'd just be amazing what you could do up there.
Makes perfect sense.
We've actually toyed with the idea of building a second smaller lodge on top to where we could have stuff in the winter time as well. So,
Jimmy might not like it to plow the road all the time to get in and out of there, but.
I enjoyed that part of it.
that's why the first conversation was had with the caretaker,
But yeah.
Christie.
I mean, even the consideration if it's that somewhere's in the 24 to 5, like you guys had mentioned on the installation of that furnace and ductwork and all that when it's completed, that's pretty small potatoes in comparison to what that could open up.
Oh, boy.
For winter months.
Yeah.
Well, and let alone prevent another $400,000 in damage.
Gotcha.
I assume they're gonna install a main shut-off downstairs, that it's got some sort of protection on it that'll tell if there's a leak in the future, maybe.
Well, the caretaker, they check it all the time, so it's a
Yeah.
matter of.
Or even a way to drain it potentially, just in case we ever do have to shut it down.
Yeah.
We gotta have a secondary way to.
Well, and that was the other thing with his, no, sorry, Greg, that, because everything's copper in there right now, except for where the leak was shark bite pecs, shark bite. He did give us a bid, but that was before. He said it'd be cheaper to redo everything to pecs, which here's the other one.
Cheaper on what?
Everything's open now, and he said if we pull the copper out for him just to run them, it'd be cheaper than the price he gave us.
But in theory, right now, the insurance company's gonna say you got to fix this, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. But to rerun like PEX and do it right, there's the one that is an outside wall. It needs moved for sure.
Rerouted
Yes.
out of that outside wall.
Right.
And unfortunately, we do have to keep this building water system charged during the winter. Per EPA, the revised total coliform rule, you have to have 3 different sites. And we only have 3 different buildings. So we have to, whether we use it or not, we still have to keep water in this building for the monthly sampling.
Even if it's shut off, I'd still love to see a way to.
There is a way to shut it off.
And potentially drain it if need be, but maybe that's not an option to drain it, but at least shut it off. Okay.
We got heat in it, it's open 24 or 12 months out of the year.
It'd be perfect.
Be perfect then.
Yeah.
Well, and cost savings too, just to keep things thawed out. Those electric heaters will do it, but they're spendy.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the projects we want to get done is put a forced air furnace in the caretaker's house, because it's all baseboard heat right now.
Ooh.
So, that's a really bad place to have.
I would suggest if you are thinking about going forward with the furnace at some time to go ahead and advertise and get bids for it.
Yeah, right away.
Because that would be in that range where we'd need to do that. Isn't that correct?
Is that, what, would you get Warren to take care of that, or as far as the advertising and?
Yeah, that would be up to you guys to advertise, yeah.
Yep, no, not a problem.
Then you'd be ready to go.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see the bids for that, and if we can swing it, you know, we have to just pull the trigger because the bid's in place already.
Yeah.
Where things are timed so tight.
We have something to
Well,
present
if we
this
can-
live too.
Yep.
We can get that camp opened up by the 15th of May, why, our revenue's gonna keep on.
Yeah.
And if we can get some heat in there for this coming winter, why, that'll give us a test to see how well we can do, provided we get snow. This year would have been a good year to test it.
Snow's key, because I think right now we're, I don't know, sitting about 6,000 or 7,000 that we brought in that we wouldn't have had from last year already.
On
Is what we
snowmobilers.
deposit just snowmobilers at the motel.
We
So-
lost about $25,000 to $30,000 each year, so we're $50,000-$60,000 less revenue than what we're used to because of the snowmobiling.
It's pretty deep up there when I went up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice night. It's really nice right
Yeah.
now. So,
Go on up.
I'll make another point of getting up there and check on progress.
Yeah, because they're gone right now. Everything's gone. I actually drained pretty much everything out now just so we wouldn't have another one. Because all our heaters, everything's gone, but I got all electric going and that it's cold. It'll be 30 below tomorrow, so tomorrow morning up there.
Well, that's a bummer to have to deal with, but I guess at least we got some pretty capable hands, it appears, on it, so.
Servpro is very professional.
Yeah, I've
And
been
quick.
impressed.
I mean, he was aggressive.
I'm sure you could get it done a lot cheaper, but not at the rate that we would like to have it done.
Yeah.
Especially if the insurance company's gonna pick it up.
Well, that insurance representative sure had everything good to say about Servpro.
Yeah.
Steve Mitchell is him, and I don't know, do you guys all have his email? I think he's on that.
Yeah, he's on that.
He's on the mailing list.
You know, where the insurance company recommended Servpro, that pretty much take the fight out of the game.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know.
Well, and he called, right away, and when Becky got hold of him, he actually called them to get a hold of me. So Servpro got a hold of me through him, basically, so, which was nice.
Appreciate it, Jimmy.
I was gonna call you back, but you didn't leave a phone number, and I didn't have record on my phone that you called.
No, that's all right. I was just getting into two, because I'm like, we gotta get going, So,
Thanks for your time.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you guys for
guys
coming
for
in.
work.
thank you.
Yeah.
All right, old business.
No,
If you guys-
thank you.
and
That's
if you
why we don't
needed
have nice
anybody- If
things.
you needed to talk to Steve, I mean, he said he's available now, if you had any questions real quick.
I don't think so, did we?
The Chubb adjuster, so if you had something, he said I'm at my desk.
Okay.
Hey, Jimmy, what's your number? If you don't mind.
307-660-3628.
Sure.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, have a good one. All right.
Keep that place open year round.
Brian, Dan.
Oh, that's bright in here.
This is this, right? What we're going over?
And then the one with the little numbers on it. That, and there should be one more. Where's let me see this. Oh yeah, this, I'll put that.
Okay.
That's the one from Dan, this is the one Amber did.
Okay. read it and my eyes start wandering sideways because I don't know exactly all the ins and outs of what's happening, but it appears we don't pay that great compared to the rest of the state, but which is not a shocker. What have you guys seen what Amber put together?
I have.
So, can you explain this better than me?
Well, so on your
He's going
sheet,
over that with you.
Dan, that you brought over, you had your officers at 2122, and that's not what they're at right now. Then your projected, we did use that, but your sheet doesn't have them with their overtime or when they get the extra $1 for night pay and all that.
The new store. This is the one-stop shop. We have a pharmacy. We have a bootlegger's liquor. The deli, the food that you can get at a lunchtime is so amazing. The coffee shop. Certain Friday mornings, there's 30 people sitting here in all these chairs. This is the hub for people to come and visit, have their coffee, have their donuts. It's amazing what this area has done. Totally amazing.
Then your projected, we did use that, but your sheet doesn't have them with their overtime or when they get the extra $1 for night pay and all that. So Amber just took the last month's pay and did their regular pay and then their new pay, what that increase would be, their overtime, their extra night added with the $1, and then the workman's comp, Medicare, Social Security, Wyoming retirement, and all of that. So the increase is in red, and then after July 1st, sheriff's retirement goes up, so that's calculated in. And if you'll see, like, some of them didn't work the entire year, so that's got to be calculated in this as well. Like, some of them were just hired, like the one only started in April, so where it says what they made for that year isn't the full year. So there's a lot in that little chart because there's a lot with their wages.
So what it boils down to, it looks like the increase would be about a $5,100 a month increase to each employee. Is that correct?
Yes, with their wages, but then this is for their benefits.
So it'd be another $1,100 for this individual. And
for their benefits.
And then right here, what you calculated, Dan, that's just their overtime hours for those guys?
Yep, that's what they were.
So
they all had a total of 78 hours of overtime, and they were paid out $26.95.74.
And does that doesn't reflect workers' comp and
No.
retirement? That's just their base salary.
That is.
We don't get any of that information.
That is what they were paid.
Their hourly rate and time and a half.
Their hourly rate and time and a half for the individuals who worked that.
And was that just 4 individuals or 5?
That one, January, there were 3 and 1 was training. So there's some of it was in the 4th, possibly.
So
I don't know exactly who was.
say divided by 3.5, say that's 22 hours of overtime each guy per month. Which 5 hours a week.
And that doesn't count the overtime that the patrol guys come in and help out, or Dan or myself.
This is just the detention place.
That is just.
So the goal, I guess, is the thought process is try to increase the hourly rate by X amount in hopes to draw another individual in to in turn draw the overtime hours down. And I understand that too, because not everybody wants to work overtime.
Well, and one of my fears with overtime is, and we lost one to that, is you can work a lot of overtime, and if you're hurting for money or something like that, they're game for it. But these guys have families, those kind of things. All that time away, exactly, and we're still going to generate some overtime. When we got to do major transport stuff like that. Because those require 2 guys, right, to do the transport. So we'll always incur a little, but it's pretty significant now.
Is there a way to do this within your budget for this year and see what happens?
None of the benefits. We could do the pay.
The pay. That's
we figured that out. Yeah.
And that's what that was. With that was increases. Everything was figured with that increase without the benefits, staying within the
our budget.
But can you do that legally?
Well, the benefits don't come out of his budget. The benefits are in our budget.
So that's our little dilemma here is we just pay payroll out of that. That's the pay out of that. No benefits come out of our line item.
So it would potentially be, say, $1,000 an individual in benefits per month. I don't know. So many unknowns, I guess, on that, and not knowing. I want to try to make it work for you guys.
I appreciate that, and we do too. It's.
Is there a ballpark, do you guys have a ballpark idea of what, if this being approved and the additional officer being hired, what that would do? Obviously, it's going to decrease your overtime hours, but,
So the way it's set up right now with the staffing we got, somebody's working overtime just about every day. Adding one more certified person. When I say certified person, you can have somebody that's not help a certified person, which does help, but they still have, that certified guy still has to be there. So adding one more certified person, then you're probably pulling into 3 days, somebody's pulling overtime roughly, instead of 6 or 7.
Which if you were to take any of those and time and a half those, those dollars are going to add up pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Without the additional officer.
And when you're quote unquote fully staffed, overtime is one of those things that happens when we have a big event, we have to transport to Ogden, Utah. It's here and there. It's not something that's happening. Maybe you might draw a little when somebody's, you got a guy in training, let's say down in the academy trying to get certified, and another guy's vacation starts. They might pull a little then.
Would the starting wage still stay at $18.92 then, or is that going to be adjusted?
No, that would be adjusted.
That would be adjusted. That was the whole point: is get that pay
up for the start, and then
to hopefully draw interest.
So this, and maybe it was just the wording, I was a little confused, because in the second paragraph there, it says the current wage of detention officer after certification is $21.22 per hour, the starting hire $18.92, and then in the next sentence, we're asking for the wage to be increased. Is that the certification or not?
That 2385 would be certified after their year, after they're certified.
So,
So what would you?
go ahead, Vera, I apologize.
I'm sorry. What would the starting wage be?
21.
22.
We'd be starting around, I realized I forgot that sticky note. What is that note? We'd be right around the 20, what their currently end rate is.
Want to start them at their end rate.
At their end rate, and then through their probation, their FTO, and their certification, at the end of that year, then they would get increased to the 2385. So they'd have steps throughout the year.
So just playing devil's advocate here, say we do this and this tax thing happens, it's going on in Cheyenne, and come July or June, we tell these guys, sorry Charlie, you cannot get this anymore.
I don't know, when he left, I don't know legally you can take money from them.
You can't reduce an employee's
I don't
pay
think
scale,
you can legally. I think it'd be more of a layoff scenario.
which would be great.
Yeah. And I could be wrong on that, but if I remember right,
We already saw what it's gonna do to our budget.
A 50% decrease will be roughly $350,000. So, the problem is we gotta figure out a way to
Well,
fund
that's a
detention.
general, and
Yeah.
if we aren't able to fund those special districts with that $2 million, are we going to look at other avenues to help that? It's gonna be a very, very tough budget. We already know that. I mean, it was a $2 million amount on that sheet she gave us.
And these guys are probably gonna be taking a little bit of a pay cut because they're not getting the overtime hours that they would be getting, but if you did manage to get somebody in.
yeah.
I don't know. Barry, do you have any good advice?
It's hard, but our job, one of our main jobs, we're gonna come down to where we have to say, what by statute do we have to do? And law enforcement is one of those.
And specifically that jail, I mean, I can't do anything about that.
There's going to
Got
be
to
things
have
that we'll have to consider.
I could fire
putting
Dan, but I gotta have my jail run.
Before law enforcement.
Well, just at the wages we're at, just for the detention officer, we're fourth from the bottom of 23 counties.
Mhm. And so you guys are aware, that sheet was prior to last year's budget, correct?
Budget cycles, that was
So
to get everybody up to.
that's what, we use to come to you guys and say, hey, look, so-and-so county's paying this. Some of those have increased. I just couldn't get an updated one.
Well,
We won't get that till probably.
say we're fourth from the budget, or fourth from the bottom on paying our detention officers. On the big picture, we're second from the bottom on our mill levy. So that's.
Michael, once you set an hourly rate with an employee, can you, because of financial reasons, reduce that hourly rate in the future?
Can you legally reduce somebody's pay, or is that a layoff scenario?
That's a good question. I wouldn't advise it.
That's a good answer.
Can you put it in writing until the end of this fiscal year? This is what your rate will be. After budget, we are going to look at it again, and it could possibly change.
I think so.
I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Well, the way you can maybe do that is you can do a 5-month premium on your wages.
Yeah, it's possible.
You do a premium on your wages for 5 months. The premium could go away.
What if you did a signing bonus instead?
Hiring bonus, I was thinking that too.
Instead of raising, until we get to our budget, what if we could do a signing bonus instead?
With it.
Might be more comfortable with that.
With the clause, you gotta stick around for a
deal.
year.
Yeah.
You know, because all your signing bonuses do have a clause that you have to stay employed for a certain length of time too.
Yeah, even if you could, which
For that new person.
kind of stinks for the guys that have been there working all this overtime, busting their butts, but if you could figure out a way to do a $2,000 or $3,000 signing bonus and draw somebody in somehow.
But that would give us time to see how the budget is, and if the budget's gonna be good, then we'd be safer.
I mean, it would, by doing that, it would protect us, the county side on down the road, and maybe give you
a
new hire initiative to start. Kind of protect us on the back end of it, but give you guys some leeway up front.
All of valid points. I still get hung up on that. We're looking at this as added expense, but when you're pulling out the tremendous overtime that we're currently paying, there is going to be a trade-off on some of those dollars for the additional position. So even if it is a ballpark, that number is still pretty important to consider of what that's gonna be right there. 'Cause it's not just all added expense, it's gonna be a partial trade.
When you look at our side of it, just the payroll, it is a significant difference.
Right.
I just don't want us to get to where we are laying off from every office.
Well, I
That's a
don't
very
think you
real
can even
fear.
consider saying you're gonna give someone to X amount of money and then say, okay, we're gonna drop your wages. Then you have to drop everybody's wages, not just theirs. You just can't do that. I don't think that would be something you wanna think about, but
I don't suppose there's anybody that does contract work like this that would be anywhere near the realm of what we would be willing to pay.
No, we utilize contract type work for transports and stuff like that, and it's super expensive. Even then, it costs more than it cost us to do it. But we have to do it because we don't have manpower. You know what I'm saying? So
Generally, you're hiring those people out at their overtime rate, which is substantial. Our overtime rate.
my fear about giving just bonuses is your people that have been working all this overtime are gonna feel a little bit shafted.
Slighted.
Do they, well, I guess it depends. Do they want some time off? I mean, they also gotta understand that the county's in the pickle that it's in.
Well, yeah, the other problem though is if you're running only 3 people and one of them leaves, now you're running 2 individuals 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Because then you have no time off, or then you're back to if you had 4 and 1 leaves, then you're back to the 6 days on, 2 days off, rotating nights. And that's what happened if you looked at November, the 92 and a half hours, somebody took vacation. And then, so you have to have somebody covering all that time on that vacation time, so then you're causing more overtime at that. So you have to have somebody covering all that time on that vacation time, so then you're causing more overtime at that portion of it, and then higher burnout. And then the other problem we're running into is everybody's hitting their max on vacation times.
That's the other issue we're up against with 2 of them, is they're losing vacation time. In other words, they've hit their max and they're not earning any more vacation time. So that benefit doesn't even exist for them at the moment.
How many detention officers do you have budgeted?
I think we're budgeted for 7, and then the jail administrator. Or is it 6 in the jail?
6 in the jail administrator. Well, 7. We're looking at removing that 6 to distribute that. So we'd have 5 in the jail administrator, so a total of 6.
And then the county would basically be eating the benefits for until June, and then in the event we may have to lay somebody off, which I wouldn't want anyway. Or we drop the pay scale back down, not on those employees after that juncture. But I don't know. Anybody got any great ideas?
With the consideration of like a hiring bonus or something to entice that position, that would pretty much only benefit the new hire, correct? So that's not gonna.
I mean, financially, I suppose that would be the only one. I mean,
Right.
it does help, like Commissioner Todd said, that, you know, get some days off, you know, take a little vacation. So there is a benefit.
Would you be willing to try a bonus initially and see?
Well, I think before we do that, I'd really like to talk to those guys and see how they feel about it, the guys that are working. I mean, I think I don't know, I think they'd be all right with that. I mean, in the sense that we could get somebody going, but.
And then, well, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty concerned about the budget, to be honest with you. Well, what are we gonna do? We gotta make a decision at some juncture. Do you wanna go visit with your guys and
we can probably get back with you.
Get it under old business at the next one? And
Well,
I'd love to have Marty here
Yeah.
for some input.
We'll talk to him.
Okay.
I mean, to me, a lot of this, there's not a lot of increase in the workers' comp, Medicare. The thing that goes up quite a bit is the retirement on each person.
Yeah, well, they'll give us a little time to look at that too. This.
Yeah.
And note that will go up again on July 1st.
Yeah.
Because their benefit
It's going
gets
up.
an
Yeah.
increase.
That percentage goes up.
I don't see on this, I don't see where it says,
Over, like,
I mean,
a
how
few-
much it says for their actual insurance benefit.
um,
Would that go up in
it should
price?
be not in July. So that's what, no, the insurance doesn't go up. That's paid separately.
It's basic, so,
That's
regardless of what we pay them hourly, the cost to us for their insurance does not go up. Okay, thank you. Well, I think we're gonna really have to consider it, you know, law enforcement is one of our top priorities in the county. And like right now, you're helping Upton and
Newcastle.
you're
Yeah,
spread
I mean,
very
whatever,
thin
right.
right now. And we all understand that, and we appreciate what you're doing. But I think too, you're just hamstrung right now trying to get anybody in here for the wages that we can pay. And sometimes what happens then is you get what you pay for.
Oh, buddy.
So
yeah, I couldn't tell you how many applications we kicked back because of failing drug tests and all this stuff. It's not pretty.
Well, and that's, law enforcement, something we're required by statute to do.
Mhm.
I mean, we have, our hands are tied on that end of it.
I think some long conversations may end up having to happen this spring over finances and where we are obligated to turn it to.
if we can find a solution until we start looking at our budget numbers. That's not saying we're gonna not do it, but I think that would give us a little bit of a better feeling about going forward and being confident to say, yes, we'll do this for you.
Yeah, and
Work it out.
you know, even if that takes that time, I think the fact that you're saying that helps, right? Light at the end of the tunnel for
Right.
those individuals that are pulling the load.
We just have to figure out where we get those batteries for the light. And we may not know that just yet.
Well, any of the 5 of you are welcome to go get certified anytime you like.
Oh.
Volunteer your.
Wait, I'm old
volunteer your
enough,
time.
it ain't happening.
Oh, you're old enough, you probably don't have to do much.
I don't do much.
But he doesn't
I mean, it
have
would
to
be
be
a-
certified.
Answer that.
He has to be certified, but the
probably
older you
run-
get, the less that PT is required.
Can you imagine Ed being a cop?
On another note, you know, Nick White was in and they're gonna cut saw cut that. Has he talked to you at all?
No, I talked to our maintenance guy a little bit about that, but I haven't
Okay.
talked to Nick.
I think they're gonna go away from the building 3 inches and try to saw
Saw that
cut
off.
the whole thing off. And then, who knows from that
Then
point.
look at it from there and
Yeah.
decide how to, maybe we'll have a
Maybe
nice
better just
stripe.
to leave it, yeah, if it causes more damage, taking that stripe out. or
Well, yeah, I
trying
mean, we need
cover
to
it.
get rid of the ramp as it is, but yeah, if we've got a protrusion there, maybe we can get somebody that's got some artistic
Yeah,
Put some kind of a nice thing on
eye and help us,
Have a contest.
draw
Yeah.
a snake on it.
yeah, and drag it or something.
Drag it.
it. Just don't put a light at the end of the tunnel like they did at Green River.
Yeah, that ain't
Yeah.
good.
All right, Brian, thanks a bunch. I'm
Thanks,
sorry.
guys.
but
No,
don't have any-
don't be sorry, but we gotta have this, we gotta figure something out.
Talk to your guys.
We will do that today.
And then come back and
No
maybe
time
work
to
something
try.
out in the next, just temporarily
Yep,
to help you out.
Thinking
appreciate
gaps
that.
and be innovative.
yeah, well, like I said, just give me a call if you're ready to go. Sign you up.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks, guys.
Michael, you're up.
Yes. These guys help me stay organized, and she's been working on this. And we have, how many, we have, what, 5 Title 25 bills?
Yeah, 5.
That for some reason keep getting rejected, and we need to get these figured out, because they've been hanging out a long time.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure why they're getting kicked back. I'm trying to figure that out. So,
Can you give me the 5? So I can look at them real quick
Okay, let me
and
just.
try to give you a little bit of an idea where we're on each of them.
I just have to give you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
It's okay. I think, I'm glad they've come in, because I think we need to understand them. When we see them, I think we need to have some understanding of them. And maybe we just have maybe we have a lot of miscommunication here as to, I know a lot of these are coming from Campbell County. Michael, you said that they have contracted somehow? Campbell County has, is that correct?
Natrona County has.
Oh, Natrona County, okay.
To do our work, yeah.
But I think we need to communicate back and forth so we understand what we're looking at when we get them also. Because some of them, to us, look like we shouldn't pay them because they either aren't from here or they're old bills. And if there's reasons for that, then I guess we need to know, right?
Yeah, I mean, the one was stale dated. I mean, by statute, you're not supposed to pay that, so I don't know.
There was one from Natrona County that was a lack of information because it was a statement instead of an invoice, but a statement and invoice. So she changed it, Natrona County, and put invoice on the top. But it's a contract with the lawyers, right? The
Yeah.
attorneys.
Natrona County attorney provides services, Title 25 for some of our residents, because a lot of times the patient will be in at WVI instead of up here, and it helps take away, because we honestly don't have the manpower to do that. We have to find an attorney, we have to get everything set up, and it has to happen within 72 hours, excluding Saturdays and Sundays. But
So are legal fees part of our costs is Title 25? I thought Title 25 costs for the county were just taking them and their hospital stay. I didn't know that legal was part of the statute that we had to pay.
It's not part of the statute, it's a separate contract.
But then getting an attorney too.
Yeah, the patient is entitled to a court-appointed attorney, and then there's a contract between Weston County and Natrona County for payment of those fees, and honestly, this is from January to September of last year, and $1,400 is pretty, so here's pretty much nothing. This is the Natrona County one. This is WBI, invoice from WBI.
I'm confused about that, Michael, the contract for the legal. I mean, is it a contract that we have signed and we've agreed to pay?
Yes, the county has been in contract, I think, for as long as I've been here, I know.
So this isn't new, this is just an ongoing contract?
Yeah. Pay for,
One of the things with the time lapse with some of these is depending on how the hearing goes and how hearings get set, those attorneys aren't going to charge us until that case is done for the total time. And that's what you're seeing with some of those months and those time lapse. Is in the Natrona County case, there's like 3 different ones. So you have your initial hearing, well then there could be more hearings after that depending on how the patient needs to proceed. This is what I'm saying.
Are we liable to pay for them hearings after the first 72 hours?
We're liable to pay Natrona County because they're handling our case for
No.
us in that contract.
But doesn't, after 72 hours, don't the expenses fall on the state?
no, that's a different idea that.
I mean, that's, we're liable for their attorney fees forever.
No, these are. we're on
Well,
two
for their
different-
hearings.
We're on 2 different. So Natrona County is charging us as the county attorney.
Yeah.
That contract. And then there's the 72 hours that we pay for the patient. After that, no, we're not liable for future state rate, Michael.
But but after the 72 hours, we still have to pay for the attorney for the hearings?
For the Natrona County attorney to proceed with hearings.
Yeah, because it's a different idea that you're responsible for the first 72 hours of, what's the word?
Patient care.
Patient care, thank you.
In hospitals.
And-
When they're in the hospital.
But as far as the attorney's work, that's a contract that Weston County entered into to pay for the attorney's work until the case is concluded. Generally, those are concluded within the 72 hours because most of the time the patient either voluntarily goes in or they just waive all their rights and get committed. So,
Which I think we only have one in there that didn't
yeah.
happen
So
with.
is this
They just-
considered like public defender?
Kinda.
Public defender that we.
It's the same
Is it
idea.
on the same line?
Yeah.
Brian?
Yeah, if you don't mind, Mike. So, if you, on that Title 25, they got 72 hours window that an attorney has to hold that hearing. So if we almost always take them to WBI to be housed. We can't house them in our jail. Your hospital does not want to house them there. So that's where that contract comes in. The negative side of that, if we don't enter into that contract for those attorneys to do that down there in Converse County, I gotta go get them. Bring them back here for those hearings, and then take them back down to WBI. I just want to throw that little part in there.
And I think Mike said this, and I don't know if you guys know this, but the 72 hours excludes the weekends and holidays. So it might go over 72 hours over there before they get in front of their first initial hearing.
It's this one.
First time.
And they're
really.
extremely confidential, as you guys know. So
That's kind of cutting out, so there's 3 hours.
Go ahead, Becky.
So if it is, okay, so if we do have a contract with this other attorney, why are we way past, like, fiscal year? Some of them are going back clear into 2023 on these bills, especially from like Campbell County and that. That's why the board has been rejecting a lot of these because we're clear into 2023.
I think that was only on that. So the Campbell County invoices have nothing to do with the Natrona County contract. Those are totally separate. When Natrona County, when the WBI is full, that's when they end up getting taken to Campbell County. So the Campbell County one that was from 2023, I don't exactly know why there was that stall in us getting the invoice. And it's, I can't outwardly see the name
So what juncture does a stale date not count in a statute? I mean,
The one I think that you're talking about, though, we were actually billed in July, so it was this fiscal year.
Which one, that was,
it was that one that Garrett has. Maybe.
And this is the one they said didn't live in our county.
she did.
But she did live in our county.
So if you got some guy that says, I'm gonna fight this thing tooth and nail, you could sit there with, or they take forever dealing with this.
I mean, if they're not voluntary, is that what you mean?
Those ones are new, those ones haven't came through yet.
Those are new?
That one says February 3rd, 2025, that one hasn't even came before the board. That one hasn't even came before the board on the voucher.
No, it's the third one that they sent us. So, are they the same amount?
It's attached to that one.
Yeah, it's supposed to be
Garrett
attached.
just got.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm sorry, we have so many of them that I'm trying to keep them together. But one of them was because they said that she didn't live in the county, but she did live in the county.
So one of the Title 25s first got invoiced to Crook County, because her,
Right.
the prior address was Crook. So that's where there was a stall between Campbell, Crook, and Weston, between all three county attorneys saying, no, whose is this?
Not ours.
And so
Right.
finally we had to dig it down further enough to figure out it was ours.
That one I seen that.
And it's really hard to explain some of these because we can't tell you guys how they happen.
So that one won't be able to be paid with just that.
And then one
They'll
of them,
have to have more than just that.
What is it?
what is it?
I don't know. This is all that's attached to that
It's for
voucher.
Campbell County.
What's the amount?
1186.
So if it's
Okay,
being
that is the one where
if
they're
it's being
arguing
resubmitted,
she's
you'll have
not
to
in the
have
county.
new stuff.
Where's the actual invoice with it?
I have it, but I did not redact the names.
Okay.
I can redact.
Has it been submitted already, redacted once?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So all that has to be redone because that was all rejected. So
And why
that's
was
no
that
longer
rejected?
from the board. If that was one that was already submitted that was rejected, that's no longer,
Okay, all of these I gave you were rejected.
yeah. So then all that has to be resubmitted with new stuff because that one was already rejected.
But we need to understand why it's
Why?
rejected so we can figure
So
out.
we
how to
already
fix it.
let you know when we let Michael or you know.
Well, like the one came up 72 hours, I explained specifically that the weekends do not count. That particular stay went through a Saturday and Sunday, so that had to be covered. The other person was a Campbell County or Weston County individual that should have been paid. As far as the Natrona County bill,
It said that the statement is not an invoice. It just said statement on it instead of invoice, so they rejected it, and that was the one you're talking about.
yeah. And I'm not aware, I mean, I could be wrong. If anybody has any different information that I don't, there could be, I don't know of any stale date.
Well, I think part of my confusion is when there's legal bills that say Title 25, because that doesn't make sense to me. I don't know if it made sense to you, but that was a red flag to me. Why should we pay legal bills out of Title 25? Does that make sense?
And one of Vera's questions was if they say Medicare and
Or Blue Cross Blue Shield?
yes,
and
why are they not?
do we have
paying
proof
them?
that they've gone through Blue Cross Blue Shield or Medicare first or Medicaid first?
Because some of them will say right at the top, Medicaid or Blue Cross Blue Shield. Okay, well, did that hospital send it to them first, or is it easier for us to pay it?
I think that's one of the,
Because there should be, if they went through insurance, there should be some deduction on that bill.
Yeah.
The insurance should pay for some of it.
yeah, I understand that, and I think that goes to the delay part too, because I do believe they go through trying Medicare or insurance before it comes to us, and that's another reason a lot of these get delayed. But as far as I understand, all these went through all the processes. Just like the Natrona County individual said, this is how they've submitted these for 10 years, and this is the first time they've had a problem with this. So we're just trying to figure out how we can get this more streamlined and get these paid, because it's starting to really affect their view of us up here and our relationships with them. So
I would say if they just give us proper information, that would help.
Go ahead.
Well, and that one from Natrona County, that was the first one I've ever seen that actually came to us like that, for that, for filling their, paying their contract.
Yeah, I'd never seen one.
See, that was the first time I've ever seen one that come across our desk that was to the Natrona County Legal Department, for that, basically paying that side of the contract.
One of the other stalls that we have is if we get a Title 25 invoice before the 3 months of them trying to invoice the patient, then we kick it back out of our offices. We can do that. So you're going to see at least a 3-month decrease, because we try to get them to invoice the patient before we end up paying it. So that automatically is going to put us 3 months behind the bill date.
Going down the road, that would be nice to see that date when it hits your office, and okay, now we're 90 days later. See, when it gets to us, it looks like it's 90 days old already. If there was some kind of documentation that, like, okay, you guys have been pursuing this for 90 days, and now it comes to us, that would, to me, that would help us on our end of it a lot too, being able to clarify that.
Yeah, because we have all these questions when we look at them before we
Yeah.
sign them. We have all these questions in our mind. Why is it coming now?
Especially around the end of a fiscal year.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden, here, we're getting a bill from the previous year, here, in this year, and we don't know that you guys have been chasing that for 90 days already.
A little note from you, hey, this came to us X date. We've
That would
been
help.
working trying to get money from the patient this long, because
That would help.
But we don't do that though, that's done out of hospitals. I kick it back to the hospital and say, have you tried billing them for 90 days?
But I mean, at least
'Cause
put a
we're not
note
gonna
on there
send
that
them
it's been, you kicked it back to the hospital.
Mhm.
Something like that where,
It is in there. If you guys look at the bottom, it says like billed this date, this date, this date, because I know we kick it back, but
What is it? Are we notified prior to that 90 days though, is what Ed's saying? That it's, the process has begun.
we shouldn't get the bill before 90 days. So the patient, when they're in the hospital, say they're in January, we should not get billed from that before March or April, because the hospital should be billing that patient. So the dates are back 3 months before we get them. Even though the stay date is January through March, we shouldn't see that for 3 months, at least.
And then you kick it back.
I shouldn't have to kick it back, because it should come to us 3 months after. So that's where, it'll say like, well, the patient was in the hospital in December. Well, that's fine, it's gonna show that, but we shouldn't get that until February. Does that make sense?
okay, kind of. So we're,
at least 90 days, because if they have Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever, Blue Cross, Blue Shield, they should have been billing them. Then they start billing the patient. So it could be 120 days, because if they sent it for 3 months to the insurance company, that's going to put it that much longer out on that.
Correct. I shouldn't see it until that time has lapsed. So I can't give you like a, hey, they're trying, because it shouldn't come to me that way. If it does,
Okay.
I kick it back and say, no, the time hasn't
But see,
passed.
a lot of times what we see is the date that the hospital incurred the bill.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then that's why a lot of these are already 90 days before we even see them.
Correct.
And
And that's just us following what we're supposed to do. We're saying,
shame on you.
nope. But we should have told you guys that. I guess we didn't know that you didn't know.
Yeah.
So.
All this helps me.
Oh,
Which
Yeah,
makes
I'm getting a better idea
It
of,
makes a
you
lot
know.
more sense to us, but the legal one, we were just like, we're not paying the legal fees out.
Yeah.
So
Please
how
do.
can we get
Please
that
do.
one paid? What would we need to do to get that one paid?
Resubmit it with all the
And,
documents.
and put a little explanation, this is the contract we have with these, with this
Contract
attorney.
Yeah.
You know,
So-
that would clear it up a lot, because all of a sudden we're getting like, why are we getting a legal, a attorney bill from Title 25 that's, you know,
From a different county. We're like,
Yeah.
nuh-uh, forget it.
Does it really matter if it says statement
Yes.
or invoice?
Yes, state statute, we cannot pay off of a statement.
Okay, so I need to call her and have her change that to.
Well, it has to be on invoices, with invoice numbers, because when you plug into your system to pay, you have to do each invoice. So that way, if you try to submit the same thing next month and we're entering that same invoice number, it will kick it out. Each bill has to have its own invoice number in order to go into the system.
So after I'm done, I'll call her and say you need to do an invoice and you have to have a different number on this one?
So,
is that right?
So she can still give you your statement that you tried to submit, but then if she'll have an invoice with an invoice number explaining what it is for that state.
Yeah.
I'll look at it.
Yeah, and if
Yeah.
there's, Brooke knows, cause
like an invoice number, contract, you know,
Okay.
and just each one broke down, if it's 2 months, if it's 3 months worth of contract, whatever it is,
Okay.
have it broke down like that for an
And
invoice.
that's easy enough. I mean, between Brooke and I, we can do it.
Just another note too, on those Natrona County ones, it's gonna be probably like an hour, I think it was hourly, you guys have it up there. I've let Stephanie take over all the.
And I'm learning too.
Is
That's
it?
why I really wanted to come today, so that we can get on the same page, because I contact all
I
these
think what they're
people.
doing is.
I mean, if it's a justified bill, we don't wanna ignore it, you know.
Right. It just sounds like a little bit more communication on the forms.
So they're charging, just so you guys know, the Natrona County ones are charging by the hearing.
Yeah.
Okay, so they want to be like hours or,
Well, I mean, even
for the hearing.
if it's per hearing, but at least give us a,
So,
now that we know it's a contract with, between us and them, it's like, well, why are we paying their legal fees?
Okay.
That was the biggest red flag on that one, is like, here, we're paying their legal fees?
My little staff there.
Yeah,
So,
because I don't remember ever seeing one of those.
no, that's the first time I've ever
Okay.
seen one going to the Natrona County Legal Department.
So how about the other one, the Wyoming behavioral one, where it was rejected because it stated the weekends weren't counted, or it was 4 days and we only pay 3. How do we get that one paid?
We have to resubmit all these. I think we cleared it up. Michael said the weekends don't count, holidays don't count.
So
The board knows that.
so I would just explain that on there?
Do you guys need an explanation further, or are we on the same?
no.
You're
so
good
you
on that
just
one.
make sure you resubmit all the invoices.
Okay.
I guess you could put a note on there over the weekend or something,
Yeah.
so we
Yeah,
look at it and go, oh yeah, it's a
Just
weekend.
to
we
make
do
it
that, so you guys
easier.
remember, yeah.
Okay, so on all 5 of these that were denied, just go back, resubmit them with an explanation, and make sure they're an invoice.
Yeah, and then if you have anything that says, like, they tried to bill Medicare and
Yes.
their
Okay.
insurance, we can get anything like
Because
that.
that's always a question in our mind, at least mine.
Makes sense.
It's fair.
Yeah, that's fair. I just want to get them, because she has taught me how to do the billing, and I'm trying to take that off her plate. And so I just want to get it to where I can just do it, do the voucher, turn it in, and it's done. So if that makes it easier on you guys, I'll work on that today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, I think that helps. I just think the communication was bad and or not enough.
Not enough, because I didn't know either.
Blame it on
so-
Brooke, she didn't teach you well enough.
No.
Didn't teach me how to bill the county bills. Okay, so does that help?
We'll get it.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, just let me know.
We can do.
Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, if you guys, if you're here in a meeting and we're not,
Just call you.
just
and
call
say,
me.
"What is this?"
Yeah, we'll get it together and we can explain it.
Yeah, because
Thanks, guys.
Yes, thank
Appreciate
you.
it.
Yeah, thank
Sorry
you.
for that.
We're honestly working
Thank you.
on the same
Thank
thing
you,
with our
guys.
bid process right now as far as the details, and, I mean, it's real similar as far as it's probably a legitimate invoice, but it needs to be reflective of that.
Yeah.
You guys see a lot of vouchers come through too, so we'll try to make it easier to.
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Thank
Dave.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, all school reunion request. Everybody probably saw it in their email.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody have concerns or
I guess
thoughts on it?
the only thing that I was thinking about is, it looked to me like it was gonna be like non-animal foot traffic. I mean, that was kind of the request, right? So as long as we're not driving vehicles up on the lawn and stuff like that, foot traffic.
He's got, we moved it to
We're gonna go to
1:30.
1:30 for his executive session.
Let me talk to him about that. I don't know, because I had talked to him about that another, I don't know if I need to. Okay. Because I
Thanks,
had,
Michael.
Thank you.
somebody hit my car, so I got it.
Uh-oh.
Oh, and he has a fancy car.
But yeah, it seemed to me like it was kind of mentioned in there. I know that they mentioned like no animals, but then I was trying to just, as long as it's foot traffic.
Yeah.
Sprinkler heads and stuff like that. You know, nobody had like a big heavy stand that they wanted to drive up on the yard or something.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that.
People are gonna go up on the yard if it's hot anyway, so.
Yeah.
Do we need to just give them do a motion or just give them the go ahead?
I
Or
can just email her, let her know. Okay.
just maybe keep anything that's real heavy off the, where there might be
Right.
sidewalks
Plus,
that might
they
get
just put all
broken.
they put all their baskets and stuff up on the
It's public
library's
property.
porch.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's public property, so.
I know.
Just
Okay. Employers Council, I heard back from everyone except Mr. Stolpen and, Mr. Colfart. So, the results were, there was only one person that liked sample 1, and that was Jimmy. Sample 2, Kara, Susie, and myself liked that the best, and then Jimmy and Ricky picked that as their second choice. Sample 3, Ricky and Jimmy liked that as their first choice. Kara, Susie, and myself picked that as our second choice. Nobody liked sample 4. Sample 5, Ricky picked that as her third choice, and sample 6, Kara and Susie picked that as their third choice. So we can take sample 4 out, sample 1 out because only one liked it, sample 5 is out because only one person liked it. Sample 2 had 3 number 1s, so it was the most popular. Sample 3 had 3 number 2s, so that one is number 2, and sample 6 is third.
So, I'm sorry.
Good, yeah.
Did you catch all that?
Yeah, I did get all that.
Good job.
So are you gonna send, those back out?
Yep,
and
so I
just
will
have
send them to you guys. I'll send those 3, 2, 3, and 6, and then you guys can make your decision at the next meeting.
Okay,
Perfect. Thank you.
we're getting there.
All right.
Slowly but surely.
Do a little lunch recess. I think Brian's coming back at 1:30 for the executive session, so we'll just reconvene at 1:30.
Garrett?
Yes.
You're not Garrett.
You okay?
Oh, I thought you said Garrett.
Bless you.
I even have my hair
Better sneeze about 1,000 times.
In addition to the weekly printed version of the newsletter journal, we also promote our community and share important information on our award-winning website, newslj.com, and in our weekly email newsletter, Nuke Now. We also connect with readers through various social media platforms and invite you to check us out on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can even take a look at a recent meeting of the City Council, School Board, or County Commission on our YouTube channel. We do hope that you will go to newslj.com and subscribe today, and we look forward to making all of our great content available to you. But regardless of your level of support, we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for doing your part to preserve a free and independent local press.
Firemen, they got
blocks
like,
for you. It's like
Stalls
across the
for 'em.
street.
Yeah, you guys, should we see if Stolken's good?
He's got a hearing at 1:30.
And someone hit his car, he said.
His wife's car out here, yeah.
I guess.
Hit and run?
No, not hit and run. It just slid into fender bender. She was parked and somebody slid into it. Up here on that.
Might be next. All right, you guys want to get going?
Yep, whenever you're ready.
Reconvene the meeting at 1:30. Executive session 164405A XII.
So
Entertain a
moved.
Motion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion before we vote? All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, wait.
Well, go back to regular session and
Doesn't look like there's any public comment. Anybody got anything they want to say on commissioner end of things?
I just wanted a little input on some of the progress that's been going on down in Cheyenne with the Senate File 174 and House Bill 296. There's been a lot of good support down there. Again, just kind of reiterating what we went through earlier. And I agree. If it wasn't for our feet on the ground from Weston and the support from Ogden, like, it's hard to tell. You know, they even admitted that room was pretty cold on the startup of that. So I think we've got some eyes have been opened and some successful progress has been made in that area, and I'm happy to see that.
We're,
Nothing today.
I invited, I talked to Clerk Millar in Upton about the employee that Miss Ryan that we assigned to the and just to reach out if she'd like to come visit with us, but she's on medical leave right now, so maybe in a month or something.
I do have thinking back one thing. We got invited to go to Sundance for some industrial siding thing.
Yeah.
We need to jump onto that, whether it's going through them. When I was up in Buffalo, Converse County, one of the commissioners there, they've got, basically it's a one size fits all for industrial siding stuff. Basically, we could get that from them and just change the name, so we actually would have something on the record to, if in case somebody come in with a big wind farm or whatever, some big industrial thing, we are a player in the game then, because there was some legislation that died, but basically Goshen County got caught sleeping, and they've got a big project going on down there, and they got no impact money from it. By having that in place, we'd have a foot in the game, and they wouldn't just ignore us.
That's a meeting.
Yeah, it's our next commissioner meeting though, at 1 o'clock in Sundance.
And that's what I told him. I said I would pass it on to you guys, but it was during our commissioner meeting, and I did send it to all of you
Yeah,
guys.
if nothing else, at least one of us should go probably to get some information. But I need to reach back out to Commissioner Willix out of Converse down there, because they said they would, gladly help us with that. And it's just because where we have no zoning in our county, that's where we would be really missing. By having this, there's at least something in there that says we have some control over it. So.
It's at 1 in Sundance, same day as our meeting?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Did you raise your hand to volunteer?
I
Or?
think you did. I see you go up.
That's so nice of
Did
you.
I just get voluntold?
Voluntold? Yep, you did.
Okay, I just got voluntold.
If you're interested.
Yeah. And I'll reach out to Willix too and get that information from them, and maybe we can work it together. I mean, it doesn't sound like it's a lot to get in place, but at least we have something on file, on record in our minutes that we've done this.
So we can do like a little RSVP, make sure that we got a quorum at that meeting beforehand.
Yeah.
So then, if they call, anybody calls then asking about zoning, I'll email them that regardless of what it is that they're wanting
Only
to
if it's
come in.
only if it's industrial siding stuff. Only if it's big companies, because that's all it's going to affect. And
So
basically,
how will I know that? Because people come in and they'll say,
oh, if it's a big project, you'll know industrial siding.
so they'll ask maybe to come
Oh
to
yeah,
the board.
it's industrial siding. It's like the 600 wind turbine that's going in, you know,
Okay.
that kind of stuff. Well, remember when there was, well, the Two Elks. We got a lot of industrial siding council money because of that.
Okay.
But the games have changed since then and how they're doing it, you know. And even if it doesn't affect even if the project isn't going on in Weston County, say it's going on in Cook County, and they start offloading 1 million tons of freight down here, we have impact money we can get for it. So, yeah, if somebody you'll know if it's a big project on that, because they have to go in front of the Industrial Siding Council of the state, so.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Speaking of Two Elks, there's a lot of funny business went on with that thing, I think.
Who's those?